What's going on, everyone? It's Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our first Masters show of the year. It's a full field breakdown from A to C for the 2021 Masters tournament. Craig, it's going to be a little bit of a longer one, but we are covering every single golfer in this field from Abraham Ancer to Will Zalatoris.
Yeah, so, there's times where Adam's definitely going to have to keep me going. You all know how long I can talk about people. I'll try not to go on too long of rants about individual players, but we do maybe need to dig into some more than others. What do we have? 90 players?
A smaller field for most majors, but it's still 90 players to get through. I was going to say it might be, if you're watching, it might be a good show to go down there and hit that 1.5 speed for this. Maybe get it along. We don't know how long this is going to turn out, but it might be beneficial for you.
And if you know how alphabetical order works and you want to just look at some players, it's easier for you to jump around. If you don't know how it works, you're probably just going to have to watch from start to finish to see the guys you want to see. But yeah, just some quick quick info.
Yeah, we have info on all the players just so everyone knows. The odds that we have taken are from Bet365 and it is from March 30th. Obviously, we have the Valero Texas Open happening right now, so this is all prior to that.
There could be potentially one more person joining the field.
Could be one more person, and odds could change based on how people play, especially come the weekend of the Valero Texas Open.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that being said, this is our first Master Show of a lot to come. So make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up if you like our content, and follow us on Twitter at Grandstand Golf. That's where we push out everything and bonus content that's not going to be on YouTube. So make sure to follow us on Twitter.
Yep. So lots to get into. Should we jump right into it?
Let's do it. Abraham Ancer. He's played here once. He's had one Masters appearance in 2020. He played really well. It got a T13. He's kind of in that 30th range from DraftKings to FanDuel to world ranking, outright 80-1. Craig, I think we're both high on Abraham Ancer. He's got a long-term player. What do you think about his?
Yeah, well, and I think if I remember correctly, I think he limped in a little bit. Like he was going into Sunday, I feel like he was maybe top 5, top 10 at least, and then didn't do. Maybe it was Saturday, but one of the days on the weekend he actually fell off the pace.
Right.
So he's shown that he can play well at Augusta. In terms of his prices and his odds, I think they're pretty reasonable. It's such a strong field, a guy without a long history here. Augusta's a course where we know that history matters more than other courses.
To me, I like to have, when I'm looking at a winner, I like to have a little bit more appearances at Augusta under the belt. But I think he's a really solid kind of, I would expect him to make the cut, make the weekend, and kind of contend at least for kind of a top 20.
Yeah, form has been good, not great, I would say. We have seen him, top 25s, but we haven't really seen him pop for a top 10 since, I think it was American Express. He finished 5th.
Right.
So yeah, Abe Ancer, I think he, solid middle of the fielder. He's definitely gonna be someone I think I will look at as a guy to complete lineups on DraftKings. But all that we're gonna get more in depth in our future picks shows and DFS specific breakdowns.
For sure. Okay, next up,
Daniel Berger. So he is one of, I think, the few omissions from the 2020 Masters when it got shuffled from April into November. We had a couple guys that, their form just drastically, it felt like they deserved to be in the Masters. Berger was one. I think Hovland is another one who we'll get to in a second. But yeah, he's 15th ranked in the world. He was close to that in November. He's got 3 Masters appearances, a single top 10. He was tied for 10th back in 2016. If you don't know much about him, he has, he had battled injury, maybe I think 2019, I don't know if it goes all the way back to 2018, but there's a couple years there where he was not on his best form. So the appearances I think are down because of that. Thoughts on Daniel Berger?
One of these guys in DFS shows that we talk about quite a bit. When you look at his stroke gained total, you can look at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, back to the COVID break. Like, he is constantly better. Like, his stroke gained total is better than where he seems to be priced at or kind of outright picked at. So we need to start considering him as, like, I think a 1B type tier player, or at least a 2A tier player.
Yeah, he's definitely, I mean, he's not in that upper tier, the upper crust, but he is in that next chunk. He has the win at AT&T Pebble Beach. He has a good finish. What was he? Top 10 at the Arnold Palmer, maybe? Or I forget which one it was.
Right.
But he does have a top 10 since then. And then, we saw a little bit from him in the match play, not much. He had a fairly soft group.
I expect him to play well here. I think he's got a good shot at Augusta.
Yeah, agreed.
Complete player. Next up, moving down. One of the longest names, we had to shrink it for this one, Christiaan Bezuidenhout, a guy that we've been talking about a lot lately for both European Tour at the end of 2020 with his dominance there, especially in South Africa, and then came over and has been playing really well in the PGA Tour. He's played at Augusta once and the Masters once, T38 in 2020. He's been shooting up the world ranking. He's 35th there, but his pricing around 40th, 42nd, 110 to 1 odds outright. Again, maybe not a guy personally for me that I think can outright win this, but talented, really good putter, someone that should be able to kind of finish high here, I think.
Yeah, and just to go in a little bit more depth, he had back-to-back wins. The European Tour, Sunshine Tour, co-sanctioned events in South Africa in the fall, maybe early December. Back-to-back wins there. So anytime you're winning back-to-back on any kind of events of that magnitude, you're doing pretty well. Excellent short game. I think he's one of these people who really puts his stamp on it with his short game. It does make it so that he can be, he maybe plays a little bit over his head because of how good he is. And I think Augusta's a place where that will make it, I think he's a cut maker. I think he's a high finisher. Does he have the ball striking to be able to win here? I agree with you. I don't know if he necessarily does, but we'll see.
A guy, if he's new to you, a guy, learn his name and learn his backstory. He's got a really interesting overcoming some things in his backstory. So
easy guy to cheer for, I think, too.
Good story. Yeah.
Okay, next up, Ángel Cabrera. Now we're into something that we get at the Masters that we don't necessarily get at all the majors. 20 appearances, 6 top 10s, and he's still playing here because that win back in 2008. Also had I believe a playoff loss. Do you remember that one? Can you tell me? Here's the live quiz. Can you tell me who beat him in a playoff?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's Adam Scott the year he won. He knocked off Ángel Cabrera.
Oh, that sounds about right. That sounds right. That sounds right. So I don't think we're going to see Cabrera. He has legal troubles. I don't think we're going to.
I feel like I do remember hearing about some of that. So maybe we'll keep it short there. Likely absentee.
Yeah.
If he shows up, it's a long shot to make the cut, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, Patrick Cantlay, one of the highest rated players in this field, I think for good reasons. He's played here 4 times, a top 10 game in 2019 T9. He did have the lead momentarily in 2019 when Tiger took it. Momentarily had the lead, but it fell through. To me, again, one of these guys, he's in that 1B category for tiers and golfers in the world, and he needs to be respected that way. He's also going back to 2012, had a low amateur here, so he has success.
Yeah, I was going to say that with his 4 appearances, he was a great amateur, and then he actually had trouble early in his career, physical trouble, the back injury everyone knows about, went through some personal tragedies. Easy guy to cheer for, as long as you can put up with him taking a little time before he hits the shot, his little shuffle.
The 20-second over the putter.
But only 3 appearances sort of since he has become the player that we know he is now, at top 10, obviously the tied for 9th in 2019. He was a top 20 still last year. I think he's got all the tools. I think he is one of these people we're going to see as the next 10 years go by. He's going to be one of these people that frequents the top 10 at Augusta. He's got the distance. He's got everything you need.
He's got all the tools. He's been playing well. Amex, Pebble Beach, so the course records. Didn't get out of the match play, but he ran into Brian Harman that was really
And
hot.
He had a missed cut at the Players, but the Players is just an aberration of an event in some ways to me. You do get top players going there and miss the cut. To me, that's not an indication that his form is in any way extremely bad, and I'm going to avoid him
if we're talking DFS, I almost like that because maybe that will drive his ownership a little bit lower because 2 tournaments doesn't show like he has the best results, but I think his form is better.
Yeah. Okay, Paul Casey. I think one of a guy who we both like to cheer for. 14 appearances, 5 top tens, tied for 4th in 2016. He's got a fairly long history of success here. To me, from a DFS point of view, and outright point of view, his form is so good right now. I think you have to like those numbers you see there.
I think in 14 appearances, you can't think of many years where he has had better form coming in. The DraftKings number especially stands out to me. I think he will be super popular there. Also of note, I did have here that he has missed 4 cuts in 14 appearances. Augusta, especially going back to when he was playing, it used to be, you're within 10 strokes of the leader plus however many people. So it was pretty easy to make a cut for quite a while here, especially with a limited field. So high finishes, but also missed cuts.
Yeah. Now he has made 5 of his last 6 cuts, and that starts with a 3 straight top 10s. So I would say, I don't know. I like him a lot this upcoming week. And apologies if it sounds like there's some grinding on my end. I've got a puppy chewing on my chair right now. So the joys of having a puppy are sometimes a bit of a roller coaster, but we're gonna push on.
No, I like Paul Casey a lot. I like him a lot this year.
Cam Champ.
Next up, Cameron Champ. 1 appearance at Augusta, T19 in 2020. Pretty high finish for a first-timer. 2020 was a little bit odd because, I don't know. There seemed to be a lot more first-timers, but T19 is a very good finish. Hasn't been playing very well recently. He qualified by the Tour Championship, making it to the Tour Championship. But we were talking about this ahead of the Valero Texas Open. He has a string of missed cuts. I think, 6 of his last 7 or something like that. So he has not been playing well.
Yeah, he's an elite ball striker, especially, distance-wise off the tee. I'd say he's right there with Bryson and Rory and the top guys on the tour. But his form is not great right now. It looks like his short game has really not been there for the 2020-2021 season. So I think he's someone that it's not necessarily going to be his best Augusta appearance, unless he manages to go out there and pull something out of his hat.
Yeah, he did well at the PGA Championship. He maybe has this mold of like the Brooks where he is going to be that big game hunter, but I don't think you get your first one at Augusta. I don't see it. I don't see it.
You just don't quite buy it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, opposite end of the career spectrum, maybe. Stewart Cink. We've got 18 appearances, only 2 top 10s for old Stewie, but I tied for 3rd back in 2008. He's just really experiencing a little bit of a resurgence, I would say. It maybe peaked in the fall, and we haven't necessarily seen the results that we saw back when he had a win. What was it? Safeway, maybe? Safeway, So, it's going to be a tall test for him, but I think a made cut here would be a pretty good accomplishment. And then if he can find his way up into the top half of the field that makes the cut, I think that would be a good showing for him.
Yeah, I completely agree. A made cut would be good. There's a few guys like that we'll talk about. Some are former champions. Some, there has been a few guys in their late careers, in their 40s, that have won this year that are playing Augusta for the first time in a while. I think a made cut is definitely in the realm of possibility. Let's see if he has his son on the bag. I'm not sure if he will, but he's been playing well with him. So potentially he can find some top 20 magic. I don't know.
Yeah, he has seemed to be able to pull it out this year when you're like, Stewart Cink, a little over the hill, but for some reason he's playing good golf right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Canadian Corey Connors is next. He's actually played here 3 times. He's been playing, he's come on, I think, relatively new. He was a late entry, obviously, when he won the Valero Texas Open in 2019. He does have a top 10 here. 2020 tie for 10th. He has played in 2015, 2019, and 2020. To me, this is just, if you want a guy with upside and ball striking, Corey Connors is that guy. Does that mean he's going to have the best finish? I don't know. Like, the putter needs to come on for him, but his ball striking is one of the best in the field, and he's ranked, around that kind of 40th area.
Yeah, and he has been crazy hot over the past couple of months in terms of his results, in terms of his play. I think he is, we're recording this Thursday of the Valero. I am not super worried either way of how his results come out. I think his form is good. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do this week. He is one of these people who his ball striking is as good as any in the world. If he can putt well, then he can compete. He is one of these people who has outside major win equity, I would say, just because of how good of a ball striker he is. I would say much more accurate than he is long in terms of, especially off the tee. But yeah.
And which I like his prospects at Augusta long term pretty well. Especially, he plays Monday, Tuesday with Mike Weir. Maybe he can get some insider knowledge. I don't know. I think he can pull off something here.
Yeah, and I would say one of the things about Augusta that a lot of people don't give necessarily don't necessarily have a full understanding to is the precision you need hitting into greens, not just in terms of like line, but distance control, because these greens are so fast and they fall off in all different directions. So he is one of those people that I think has that skill. So long term, hopefully he can be one of these people that plays above his weight at Augusta.
I talk about apexes a little bit more than I should. It might be a good course for high apex landing softly.
Yeah.
I think it might be the high apex week.
Yeah. Well, apex, I know you like these people that are typically low apex in the wind, but what if it's a course like this in the wind? Oh, it just starts to boggle the mind.
I know. Berger's got his at 88 feet. I want a guy that's getting to 110 feet. I want that high apex this week.
Freddie Couples. Okay, so, Masters legend. 35 appearances, 11 top 10s. He's the winner in 1992. Obviously had that insane cut streak where he made, I don't even remember what it got to, how many in a row he made the cut here. But if there's someone who's going to get around the course with savvy, I would say Fred Couples and maybe good old Bernard Longer might be the two I would say are going to play above their weight just based on experience.
Absolutely. I mean, Fred Couples, in this part of his career, how is his back feeling? Like, is his back going to be warm? Can he play 2 good rounds of golf? If he does, I think he's a pretty good chance to play 4 rounds of golf. But you don't really know how he's feeling. You'd have to get some information beforehand. He has made 2 cuts since 2015. He was a T18 in 2017. I don't count this guy out for playing on the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us not to have a soft spot for him just because growing up he was probably our dad's favorite player, if not one of them. So we were always very aware when Fred Couples was in a tournament, especially the Masters late in his career when it just seemed like he should not be still doing this.
For sure. Next up, Jason Day. We're into the D's. Jason Day, an interesting guy this year. Jason Day is intriguing. He's No, he's always a little bit intriguing, but he's played here 10 times. He has 4 top 10s, good history here. T2 in 2011. Charles Schwartzel won that year. He's been top 25 in 75% of his appearances. His world ranking coming in, he's in the top 50. He's 50-1 outright, but he's in that kind of 20th to 28 range. FanDuel, DraftKings. Which Jason Day do we get? I mean, I feel like he's showing those signs of being that elite player this year.
Yeah, I backed him hard in the match play because I was hoping that we would see a little bit of form there. He is a little bit hot and cold, so I would love to see him come out and play well at the Masters. I feel like the first time I remember Jason Day was the year that I think it might have been the year Schwartzel won. He almost got it done, but. I think he's one of these people that has a good feel for Augusta. I think it's potentially the one that has, I think there's a lot of people that Augusta is sort of the one that's gotten away from them, that they feel they should have that one on their mantle and they don't. So he's younger than it seems. Just based on his health, it seems like he's older than he is. So with a guy like him who has, that soft tissue back issues, you don't know how many more chances he'll have when he is kind of still at the peak of his playing ability. I'd love to see it happen. Whether or not I'm going to stake that, I don't know.
I think I am. I think I'm going to be all over it. I think it wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of years. You're right. I think the number of chances he has is running out for sure. But I see him in a green jacket. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like his career will be complete with a green jacket.
Yeah. Okay, next up we got Bryson DeChambeau. I think many people's favorite going into the 2020 Masters, coming off
Yeah,
his U.S. Open win.
yeah,
Maybe not so much. I think potentially some people think of him as a favorite. Other people are clearly looking at DJ, but he's got 4 appearances, 0 top 10s. His best finish is only a tie for 21st, and that was back when he was an
yeah.
amateur. Thoughts on Bryson?
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on Bryson. Bryson will draw media attention wherever he is at all times now. He came out and said Augusta National was a par 68 for him, and then kind of as the favorite didn't back that up really at all. I mean, you gotta have to respect the attitude a little bit. Like, okay, I expect to be this much under par. I mean, that's confidence going in, but
I mean,
people
that's kind of
have
the attitude I have to these shows. I feel like, these shows, we are the best ones out there on the entire
yeah.
YouTube. Whether or not that's the case, I don't know. But you got to have that attitude.
You got to have that attitude. Okay, no Greens book. Does that hurt Bryson? I don't know. Does the power with patrons now there, does that change where he can hit it? There's a lot of question marks about Bryson, but the fact is Bryson wins a lot of tournaments and he wins them right now at an incredible rate. I don't think he's a never at Augusta, but I don't know if it's going to be this year. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so my take on Bryson, I think that both of us, I think we're pumping the brakes on him going into the 2020 Masters.
Yep.
I'm a little bit more bullish, I would say, this time around. And the tournament actually that has convinced me of that was the players. I think obviously Arnold Palmer
Yep.
Invitational. So his form's really good of recent. If you haven't been aware, he had a win at the Arnold Palmer, and then almost it kind of came up just short at the Players Championship won by JT.
Yep.
But I did not think that type of course, the fast, closely mown.
Yeah. Little rough, little rough.
Distance is not
Yeah.
a huge advantage at TPC Sawgrass. You need to be precise hitting into greens, otherwise things can you can lose things. You kind of don't
Mm-hmm.
have that long
Mm-hmm.
rough as a backstop. I thought that was never going to be a course that Bryson would do very well at. So that one I think has convinced me more of his potential success at Augusta, where I think compared to Sawgrass, distance is more important at Augusta. And I think one of the other things that we speak about this, but is very underrated, is Bryson's a great par 3 player. And if you can play the par 3s at Augusta well, like you need to play the par 5s well. You need to
Par
get strokes
fives.
in the par 5s.
Yeah.
But if you can play under par on the par 3s at Augusta, you're looking great for the week.
Absolutely. And I want to get this out there before the tournament starts. He's a great putter. He has been after the transformation. He has been before the transformation. He is just a really good putter.
Mhm.
So when you see him making putts, don't be like, oh, like this long drive champ is making putts. No, he's always been a great putter.
Yeah. I think, to tune into the podcast. We could talk about Bryson at length, but I think we'll probably
Yeah.
dig into some of these bigger names a little bit more. We're doing a preview podcast, so check that out for more on Bryson.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, Harris English. 2 appearances. His best finish is T42 in 2016. He's played in 2014, 2016. Obviously won this year. He is coming back to Augusta National. I mean, he just, after his win, it seems like there's no form there, Craig, but I'm interested to hear if you have any. I mean, right now, for me, it's a pump the brakes. It's a fade in terms of daily fantasy. Thoughts on Harris English?
Yeah, no, I'm in a similar boat. I think I had joked after his win that I feel like he's really gonna have a hangover from the win because I didn't really
Yeah,
expect him
for
to
one
at all.
tournament we thought.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of thought that it was sort of just taking in stride the culmination of his comeback, multi-year comeback to get to this point, and that he was kind of not really going to have a whole lot of problems keeping the form that he had going into that. But it's been a few months now since we've really seen him play. We've seen flashes maybe at points, but we haven't really seen him put together a whole tournament. I'm pumping the brakes on Harris English. I would love to be proven wrong, but I'm pumping the brakes right now on Harris English. Okay, Tony Finau, a guy that I have planted my flag on at the Valero Texas Open. The first round is underway, so I hope that turns out to be sage advice. He's got 3 appearances at the Masters, 2 top 10s. He was tied for 5th back in 2019. I think that was the same year that he had to pop his ankle back in after it was...
No, I think that...
Was that the year?
I think that was 2018.
Oh, that was the year before. I got you.
His first year when he said, there's no chance I'm missing this, and he popped his ankle back in.
Yeah, so in par 3 tournament, was par 3 tournament or a practice round, he rolled his ankle, and I think it was out of place. I think it was dislocated.
He got a hole in one, and he started running towards the green, jumping, and then he just landed awkwardly. His ankle goes like this, and then he just comes up and goes, pop.
Yeah, I actually haven't shown my wife that, but she'll love it. I just cringe so hard at those type of things. But she's in the medical profession, and the things I cringe at, she finds fascinating. So maybe I'll have to show her that clip, and she'll be a Tony Finau fan. As far as Augusta goes, I think he has the game to do well here. You know, distance is an advantage at Augusta. I think that he's very underrated in the other aspects of his game. He's always going to be harried with the is he a winner, is he a closer talk. So I personally, as a fan, I would love to see him just answer that in blazes with a win at Augusta this year.
With the green blazer. I love Tony Finau. I mean, I love him at his price. I think his record here is outstanding. It's exactly what I'm looking for the first winner type breakthrough. You know, you have good success here, but you haven't broken through yet. You have enough rounds under your belt. You're a good fit for the course. Everything checks the box for Tony Finau. Absolutely going to be playing him in DFS. I mean, the only thing is, how often does he win? But I think that is overblown.
Yeah, I do think another thing, he was in exceptional form, and then a miscut at the Players, similar, to Patrick Cantlay, who we've spoken about. I'm not using that as too much of a detractor. I think the Players is a bit of an aberration, and so I am bullish and hopeful, I would say, on Tony Finau for this year at the Masters.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Matt Fitzpatrick. Sorry, is this your turn?
I thought it was mine. I was going to say no longer Matthew from what I hear. It's now Matt Fitzpatrick, but take it away.
No, I hadn't heard about that. 6 appearances, 1 top 10. He was tied for 7th back in 2016. If you don't know much about him, he's got a great putter. It can get very hot at times. He's one of these people that I think is a gamer that will have events like potentially majors where he will play above his weight class and has the potential to take down tournaments like this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he has 5 straight maids at Augusta as well. Not necessarily popping all in top 10 or he does have that T7, but playing better, I think, this year than he has possibly in a couple of years coming in. Obviously, his world ranking is great. His flat stick, like you said, can make him a contender in any tournament. He seems to, again, have those tools that would be successful around here.
I would say a good comp, if you don't know much about Matt Fitzpatrick, would be sort of like a Patrick Reed light in terms of sort of his playing style, less so maybe his personality and his...
Stature? Oh.
Sorry?
I thought his stature.
Yeah, and maybe his opinion within the golfing world. But I think he's one of these people who is a good but not great ball striker, but is a great short game and a great putter type of player, which I think those people, they're dangerous. They can be dangerous in match play, and they can be dangerous in majors, and especially at Augusta National, where a lot is demanded of your short game.
Just a gamer. He's a gamer to me.
Yeah.
Next up, Tommy Fleetwood. Very similar prices, very similar ranking in DFS. He has 4 appearances. He has a best finish of T17 in 2018. But Tommy Fleetwood seems to be the guy that has all the talent. But to me, unlike Matt Fitzpatrick, he doesn't necessarily have that closing, doesn't have that, just that game to really hammer home and get that top finish.
Yeah, now I would say the one thing with Fleetwood, it has been spoken of his lack of success, I think, in the U.S. On American golf courses and on PGA Tour events. I think that it is just a matter of time, personally. I think oftentimes we think it's easier or the golf media, I guess, thinks it's easier to win than it is. So we have seen a lot of good results from Tommy Fleetwood. I think it's just a matter of time before he gets a win. I think, it is a big ask that he's going to win at Augusta, but I think he's someone I could see easily sneaking in the top 10 here.
Yeah, I could as well. I don't know if he's going to contend. So being, in the top 25, but yeah, I'm not too excited about Tommy Fleetwood this year. I don't know why.
So 4 appearances, 3 made cuts, 2 top 20s. So he seems to be someone who is kind of flirting around that upper half of the, he missed the cut the first time he was here, and he's made sense in 3 appearances since. Top 20 in 2018 and then in 2020. So hopefully he's kind of trending in the right direction. He's kind of got his learning years of Augusta National under his belt, and he can start to translate that into getting some results.
And I would love to see him win.
Yeah, I think we're both big fans of Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah.
I know your wife is a big fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Dylan Frittelli, 2 appearances, a top 10 last year. He was tied for 5th in 2020. I think he came from nowhere a little bit, it seemed like. He has done a lot of things with trying to add distance to his game. He has had a lot of, I would say, inconsistent play. So it really was from nowhere when he came out with a 5th place last year. But I mean, it would be asking a lot to see that repeated. But yeah, thoughts on Dylan Frittelli?
He played well at the WGC match play, but it was his home course. He kind of talked about that being a advantage. Very sneaky T5 last year. I think he might be, because he just played really well recently, he might get a little bit, in terms of DFS, a little bit too owned. His ownership might be up a little bit because people see that result from last year, his recent results. It's a hard ask to back up a T5 when you're coming in here as the 68th ranked player in the world.
Yeah, and just a little bit further on the match play. So he went to, did he go to U of T itself? I think he did. So he's a South African, but he did go to Austin for his university. So that was a home course, but he did play very well at the match play. And
he did.
I think there can be a lot of similarities between match play personality and major championship personality. So maybe he's one of these people that shows up bigger and bigger events. We don't know until I think we have a little bit more of a sample size.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Sergio Garcia. Next up, Sergio Garcia, 21 appearances, 4 top 10s. He has that win in 2017. So we are going to be seeing a lot of Sergio Garcia in the Masters for the next couple decades, let's call it. I think he'll be playing here as long as he wants to, as long as the body holds up. Withdrew last year from COVID. He didn't actually play. He had 2 missed cuts since his win. So since his win, he's really done nothing. But, he has won recently. He's hitting the ball really well. Someone I've been kind of...
Sorry, since his win...
At the Masters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he has done other things. Like, he's won other golf tournaments, and he's...
No, sorry. At
Augusta, got 2 straight top 10s on the PGA Tour.
At Augusta, he hasn't really done anything since his win due to different reasons.
Yeah.
I think he's playing extremely well right now, hitting the ball really well right now. I've been pumping him up a lot on our DFS shows. I kind of like where he's coming in at. I'm not gonna lie.
Now, one of the things Adam and I will have to figure out here is that we had, going into the 2020 Masters, I was very high on Sergio and had been trying to convince you of how underrated he was because his ball striking had been so good, and his putter was just in horrendous shape, which had made his results very poor. But he seems to have figured some stuff out with the putter, and his results have bounced back accordingly. But Adam and I had a Sergio versus Spieth bet of 2 guys who are not in form, and I was on the Sergio side of it, and Adam was on the Spieth. And these were like 2 guys at the time. Their odds were down in the hundreds, I would say.
And how quickly do things change?
Now they're both more like people are hyping them up, and I think I'm still happy to be on the Sergio side of it. We'll have to figure out a stake. It's just gonna be hard for you because I feel like you want to be on Sergio, but you're also probably pretty happy to have Spieth.
I'm totally fine having Spieth. I like Sergio a lot with the putting thing. So faster, I think from what I've heard, this is, I think, Jordan Spieth interview before the Texas Open, that the greens are pretty fast. They're firm and fast this year. That's
at Augusta.
At Augusta. So talking about Sergio, not the greatest putter, we know that, but he has had success recently. He's won on these greens. They're fast greens. Maybe that makes up, that kind of narrows the advantage for those great putters and brings in people that necessarily aren't, kind of brings them closer together. All he has to do is get some good weight. He knows where the ball's going to go. The pins are in the same spot. So
yeah, and sort of just expanding on that a bit, I have heard this theory that the faster greens get, the less it can advantage great putters. And so yes. I don't know if I fully subscribe to it, but I think there's a lot of sense to it, because on slower greens, the people who are better at putting are going to make more, whereas everyone has to putt a bit more defensively when greens get really fast. So you get a lot of more people just dying it right around the hole and then tapping it in. So a lot of those one putts turn into two putts for everyone, which they're going to be two putts for the guys who are not the best putters in the first place. But whether that theory holds statistical water or not, I don't know. But yeah, I'm bullish on Sergio. I might need you to lay me some odds here with how good Spieth has been playing of late. But
I don't know if you're getting odds, man. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to talk through that one. Okay, Brian Gay got in here this year with a win at Bermuda, I believe it was. He's got 2 appearances. 0 top 10s. His best finish is tied for 38th back in 2013. I want to say he's 48 years old, a bit of a journeyman, obviously has sort of flirted with the edge of the PGA Tour, in terms of having a card. He has not been high enough in the rankings to obviously be in the Masters a whole lot, but 48 years old, he's still able to play golf for a living. I think that pretty awesome for him to be in the Masters this year. I'm not expecting much from him.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's great as a professional golfer that he's in this tournament. I think that speaks a lot to his career and the success he has had even as of recently. But I think a made cut would be a pretty good result.
Yeah, and only in the top 30 once. He's got a 29th place once in his last 9 starts. So, he does have the win. His form is not great, though. So I don't think in terms of any sort of staking, I don't think I'm going to be in a big hurry to stake Brian Gay this year at the Masters.
No. On to Lanto Griffin. 1 appearance here, 2020, missed the cut. Missed by 2 strokes. Lanto Griffin, priced in kind of the same area as these guys. His second appearance, he's going to be priced around the veterans a little bit. What do you think of Lanto?
I like Lanto. I think his form is decent, not decent but not great. He does have a habit of kind of getting top 25s in a lot of tournaments over the last couple of months. I think it's going to be hard. So we kind of skimmed over this with Ancer, but Lanto Griffin, he has the 1 appearance in 2020. I think that this course for those guys may be a bit of a shock, because it is going to be a very, very different course in April than it was in November. It's not going to be as soft. It's going to be very firm. It's going to be very fast. So can these guys adjust? Is it essentially like a rookie year, a debutant year for them? I don't know, but I like the value talent-wise. I just don't know if it's going to translate into a result at Augusta National.
We had a lot of mud balls, or what do they call it? Just debris on
organic
the ball.
matter.
Organic matter on the ball, yeah.
Which
I think it'll be a little bit different.
I think there was organic matter. There was some inorganic matter. I mean, I think if they're going to try to be very descriptive with their words, they need to make sure they choose the right one, because it's not necessarily. Maybe it's my my earth science background that's frustrating me a little bit on that one. Moving on. Brian Harman, one of my favorites, a guy close to my heart. 2 appearances, 0 top 10s. Best finishes tied for 44th back in 2018. So I would say he is someone who I like his game. I like his game a lot more at a TPC Sawgrass than at Augusta. He can be a very good ball striker, but distance is never his forte. Good short game. So at a course like Sawgrass, where distance is not as much of an asset, I think he's much more competitive than at a course like Augusta National, where you need to be long. You need to have all the tools, including distance, to really go out there and compete.
Yeah, we're more likely to see more Dustin Johnson types winning than Zach Johnson types winning. But that being said, I kind of like Brian Harman. I think he's sneaky. So FanDuel doesn't have all the prices out, and we'll see that as we kind of go through. But I think he's kind of a sneaky last man in into some lineups here because he has been playing well. He's pretty consistent. Can do a lot of things well. Has played here before, so don't count him out.
Yeah, don't count him out. I would say there have been the Mike Weir years. Like Mike Weir was not a long hitter. Zach Johnson obviously was
Oh
not a
yeah,
long hitter. So there are years where it can happen. I think it usually takes something in the weather that or course
yeah.
conditions that makes it so that those people have it levels the playing field a bit. And so if that is the case, I think it boosts a guy like
But
Brian Harman's chances.
that's just talking about winner. He can still top 20.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
still,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and that's what I like him at. Tyrrell Hatton. Let's move on to Hatton. One of our angry golfers here. 4 appearances. He's been angry at Augusta, I think, a few times. 0 top 10s. Best finish T44 2018. He is the 8th ranked golfer in the world. He's priced at 14th on both DraftKings and FanDuel. They seem to have kind of disrespected his price a little bit because of his results. Yeah, he has 2 missed cuts in those 4 appearances. I don't know if this is a match. I don't know, Craig. What do you think?
It is a bit odd to me because it seems like it should be.
Yeah.
With the type of game he has, he's a great approach player. I think he's a streaky good putter. When he is putting well, he can make them in bunches. To me he's an upside play. Like I would give him more win equity than I would say top 10 equity for people in the range. I think that if he does have a good tournament, I like his chances of potentially taking it down. But
Yeah. And also a contrarian play, perhaps.
yeah, I'm
In
just a
that
fan.
in
Like
those price ranges.
I cheer for Tyrrell Hatton. I think he gets a
Oh,
lot
me
of
too.
I think he
Yeah.
gets a lot of flack. Similar, maybe somewhat similar to John Rahm in terms of people wanting to psychoanalyze him and figure out why he needs to change his attitude to be better at golf. But if there's anyone who's gonna look like he is the most pissed off person in the world and totally in terms of the next shot he has to hit, totally let it go and try to execute that
Yeah.
shot. I think Tyrrell Hatton is that type of guy. He lets it go out there and then he uses that to kind of move on to the next shot. And yeah,
Yeah. I completely agree.
would love to see a little contention from Hatton. It would make the week more exciting.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jim Herman, a guy that I don't know if we are it would be unlikely to see a contention from Jim Herman this week. A single appearance, no top 10s, a missed cut back in 2016. You see somewhere around 60th to 80th in terms of pricing, so fairly low in the field. His outright odds are long, and his world ranking is fairly low. He got in here with a win at the Wyndham
Wyndham.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Herman?
Glad you're here.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. Hope you. Yeah. Yeah. Enjoy it.
I mean, kind of in the journeyman.
Yeah.
He'll have a few Masters appearances. His form hasn't been great over the last little bit though, so I don't think there's a whole lot of reason to get excited about it. But it'd be good for him if he can make a cut and stick around for the weekend.
Yeah. Exactly. Next up, Max Homa. 1 appearance here at Augusta. He missed a cut in 2020, missed by 1 stroke. Max Homa, I feel like a guy I've perhaps been a little bit disrespectful to because, our other brother, Kevin, on the podcast is a big Homa fan. He is our resident Homa, booster.
Oh, you just
But
missed a perfect chance for a homer.
I know. Well, I didn't, low-hanging fruit. I didn't go for it. He's been playing really well, and I cannot deny that. His win at Riv, he's been playing really, really well. It comes in, 37th in the world, 36 DraftKings, 30th on FanDuel. I think he has upside for sure. It is kind of that, how well does he know Augusta? Does his game suit this course? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I think I had been very high on Homa through the fall when he had good long-term form, but his recent form was bad. And I was saying, he's someone you need to look at because I think he's a better player than his recent form shows, and people are going to start looking away from him. And then we've seen that. We've seen his bounce back. He's been top 25 in 7 of his last 9, including the win at Riv and a couple other top 10s on top of that. So I would love to see something out of him here. He did miss the cut at the Players, but yeah, I think he has the game. He's got a good approach game, good ball striker, good putter. He's fairly balanced, I would say. He's not one of these people who does one thing exceptionally well, but he can do everything pretty well on any given week.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and an easy guy to cheer for, I would say. Billy Horschel, so our recent match play champion, 6 appearances at Augusta National. His best finish is a tied for 17th. That was back in 2016. I don't know whether we'll see his forms from the match play. We've sort of seen some fairly good golf from him so far in the spring here, and then some not so good golf, through the Florida swing. Thoughts on Billy?
Great back-to-back WGCs, at Concession and then at Austin. He's been playing really well. That FanDuel price does seem a little bit disrespectful to where he's playing. I do like, compared to Scotty Scheffler and Matt Kuchar, who are playing right now at the Texas Open, I prefer these guys that went the distance at the match play to take the weekend off. I like that Billy Horschel's doing that. A guy that seems to me in DFS rarely makes my lineups, but I feel like I need to reconsider that, especially looking at where he's ranked on FanDuel. I think I need to start respecting kind of.
Yeah, I think typically I'm a little bit more bullish on Horschel than you are. Really good putter. Is able, especially I would say inside 10 feet. He's one of these guys that makes a lot of those longer makeable, not the kind of 15 to 20 foot makeable, but like he's one of these guys who converts at a very high percentage, say his 8 to 10 foot putts. It probably makes it a lot easier to take the week off when you're cashing the check for I don't know what it would be, 1.5-ish for top at the match play.
And then he just has to shuffle over down to Augusta. Shuffle on over.
Yeah, shuffle on over. Sneak up maybe.
Sneak up on it.
Yeah, I think he is someone whose game could potentially translate. We'll see.
Yeah, 4 or 6 made cuts. Okay, this guy I excited to talk about, Viktor Hovland. 1 Masters appearance, like he said at the top, didn't play in 2020. T32 2019, he was a low amateur. He didn't qualify for the 2020 Masters. Maybe, Craig, he can make it 2 for 2 Butler Cabin appearances. I don't know. Butler Cabin visits. With Hovland and Morikawa, there seems to be, I used to have, you need a top 10 at the Masters, or you need top 10 in a major and a win in the year to win the Masters. I've come up with these formulas that make it, but Morikawa with his win, Hovland with how he's been playing, like I feel like these sophomores, are we calling them now, or they passed that, they're so talented. They kind of break the mold.
I just call them world-class golfers, but
they are world-class. Well, I know, but it still seems like they're new on the circuit because of the COVID break, and I don't know. They came back and they're storming through. He's ranked 14th in the world, 16th on DraftKings, 12th on FanDuel. I love his game for Augusta.
Yeah, I think it is, in terms of what his strengths are as a player. First off, I think the sky's the limit for this guy in terms of long-term career potential. I think he hits a very high ball. He's a great ball striker. He's a great precision ball striker. Maybe somewhat different than Morikawa. I would say that Hovland can be, he's not necessarily an overpowered with distance off the tee guy, but I think he can be much more of a powerful ball striker, if that makes sense. Whereas I think of Morikawa just as being, if there's a guy you want to hit your 130 to 150 yard shot every time, I'll take Colin Morikawa. If it's 225, I'll take Viktor Hovland. So a string of top 10s early in 2021. His form was awesome. We saw that fall off a bit after the WGC at Concession. He missed the cut at Players, but I don't think his form has gotten that far away from him. I don't know. I would love to see a very competitive Masters from him. But
I think we will. I mean, he's one of my favorites coming in. I'm calling it early. I love Victor Hovland at the Masters this year. As long as his, mom doesn't kind of rat him out for moving his ball mark or something, losing a couple of strokes. I think so. We hear a lot on broadcast about his around the green game. I think it is better. It's improving and it's better than people give him credit for.
Yeah. It's still the 2020 memories, I think, that are in people's minds that his around the green game isn't good, because it has shown, the stats back up that it has improved.
Yeah, I like Hovland.
I was just thinking about this. Now, we don't watch a ton of amateur golf and college golf, but and I would have been in law school at the time, but I think 2019 Masters was my first exposure to Victor Hovland, and I became a fan very quickly because he was such an amiable guy. It was very easy to cheer for him to be low amateur that week. Obviously, I wasn't paying attention when he won the USAM, but I just, any sort of staking aside, I'm just a huge Victor Hovland fan. I think it's very hard not to cheer for the guy.
Same here.
Okay, another guy that we love to cheer for up here in Canada, Mackenzie Hughes, a single appearance at Augusta, no top 10s, and a missed cut. I think the needle is pointing up from there. I think, a guy with a great short game. There's, maybe the ball striking needs to show up for him to be able to do something at Augusta, on one of his good weeks, ball striking wise. But he seems to play over his head at times, and I would love to see that this week coming up. What are your thoughts on Mackenzie?
Plus 15 in 2017, missed the cut by 9 strokes. So there's nowhere but up for you, Mac. You got to go up from here. I mean, we discounted him, I feel like, at the match play. He's kind of picked and choose his schedule a little bit more now that he,
has the ability to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we haven't seen him necessarily as much as we thought in the spring or in the early parts of the year. But yeah, he played better at the match play than I think we expected him to. So there's no reason why he can't make the cut for sure, and then kind of sneak into a top 30, contend for a top 20.
Yeah, he made it out of a tough, every group at the match play is tough, but he made it out of a tough group, ended up losing in the round of 16. But I feel like his form was great last summer, and then it's fallen off a bit, but hopefully that's sort of the first we see of him, coming into form for championship season here, and we can see a guy that can, maybe make us proud come Olympic time. You never know.
I like it. Sungjae Im, 1 appearance, 1 top 10, best finish, T2 in 2020. One of the best, I think, debuts we've seen in a long time at the Masters. Recently bought his house in Atlanta, Georgia. So maybe making some roots here in Georgia. He's around 20th in the world. Craig, this is an incredibly hard debut to back up. What do you think of Sungjae this year?
Yeah, I think that there's different kinds of tied for seconds. The reality is DJ ran away with it, so I think it might have been a little bit easier bringing it home last year to really just secure his second place. But I
think we should say for these guys that had first appearance, also no fans, no patrons.
Yeah,
so less pressure.
But played well, played very well. Did a very good job last year. I'm not going to take anything away from that. But ultimately, he was not really contending for the win unless DJ did something disastrous. His form has been, maybe just Sungjae-like. He has a string of top 20s, top 30s, with only a couple top 10s over the last sort of 10 tournaments. So I think if I were to look for someone to top 30, I think he's very high on the list because he just seems to show up every week and play well. But it's rare actually that he pops as high as he did last year at the Masters.
Yeah, I think my bold call is he won't finish as well as he did in his 2020.
Well, that's going out on a limb.
I know.
But yeah, I would say he's someone I like a lot more to do well, but not great at this year.
Yeah.
Okay, Trevor Immelman, another one of these Masters specials, former winner.
All right, yeah. Is he? I don't know if he's playing. I put him in here. He's in the field. Not to interrupt you, Craig.
No, I don't know why. 17 appearances, two top tens, obviously including his win in 2008. He's broadcaster these days for the most part.
Yeah,
I don't know
he's a
why he
broadcaster.
wouldn't be playing, but these guys, they have invites. I forget what year they get invites till, but they are able to play for quite a while. If I were him, I would definitely be playing. So, uh, yeah, I obviously no expectations from on my end. I think a cut made would be pretty exceptional for him. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just looking real quick, I don't think he played in 2020. I don't know if I've seen news this year, but I think he's just kind of moving on. I don't know if he's going to be a career kind
one
of.
of these guys that continues to play as long as he can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I liked it when he won, so I'll just enjoy the memories.
Enjoy him in the broadcast. Dustin Johnson, 10 appearances, 5 top tens. He's got that win in 2020. He was playing, his finishes before the win were exceptional. If you're looking for kind of what to look for in a future Masters champion, I think he had all of it kind of just displayed there, laid out. This is what you look for in a future Masters champion. He's first everywhere. He's first in the world. He's first in every DFS. He's 8-1 outright to win. I mean, the only thing that we can say recently is he didn't make it out of pool play, but that happened on his last hole, really, that he lost that opportunity at the match play. Otherwise, I think he's the clear best golfer in the field coming in defending his championship.
Yeah, a couple things. First 5 appearances, he had 0 top tens, and he's had 5 straight top tens since then at the Masters. So I think he's a prime case of what course knowledge here and maybe just maturation in your golf game can do at Augusta National. I'm pumping the brakes a touch on DJ just with regards to recent form. It's been 3 tournaments in a row that, the match play finish position is a little bit skewed, but 3 tournaments in a row that he hasn't made it into the top 25, which I would be hard pressed to look back and find when the last time that has happened. But it's just DJ's one of these guys, like what he went from shooting 80 at the 3M to then winning, 80, so I just am not going to at any point ever discount Dustin Johnson, especially at a course where he's top 10 5 straight times, especially at a course that demands everything from a golfer, and one of the few golfers in the world that has every tool to rely on. So he's another guy that we'll probably get into more in depth on the podcast if you do want to go more in depth on DJ. But other than that, the guy's exceptional.
As Rory said, see ball, hit ball, see putt, make putt. That's kind of what he did last year. I feel like he can show up this year, kind of do the same and get a top 20 pretty easily. It's really hard to defend here. So I don't think that should be the expectation. That might be the expectation he puts on himself. But as a fan or as someone betting him, it'd be hard to go back to back.
Yeah, cool to see how emotional he got last year when he won it. Will be interesting to see how elaborate the menu is for the Champions Dinner. But other than that, I think we can save our deep dive into DJ for the podcast coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, from one Johnson to the other, Zach Johnson, another Masters winner. I would say they have very similar games. Okay, maybe not. 16 appearances, 2 top tens with the win in 2007. A guy who is a longer odds in every way you want to look at it. 107th in the world. I think he played above his head to win here 14 years ago now. I think a made cut would be a pretty good finish for him this year.
Yeah, I think his last top 10 is 2015. The Masters clip that gets played more than his win is the fact on 13T recently. He was hitting his practice shot and he hit it off the toe of his driver. He's able to re-tee it, but that's what's circulated more about Zach Johnson than his win. I think a made cut and try to climb the leaderboard on the weekend would be kind of expectations.
Yeah, he has made 3 straight cuts. Missed the 2 before that, but in those 3 cuts he has not finished above 36th. So the reality of the Masters is that it is a bit of an easier cut to make, just with some of these older players and some of these amateurs we get in the field. So he is someone that I have a hard time seeing breaking into the top 25, but his game has been good in the past 6 months. So ever since actually the Wyndham Championship that he played his way into the FedEx Cup playoffs, his form has been better, I think, in the last half year than it had been in maybe the years leading up to that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Matt Jones, recent addition, recent winner, one appearance here, 0 top 10s. He missed the cut in 2014, shot +8, missed by 4, so a little bit of ways. But he has that recent win at the Honda Classic. Also one of these guys, if you play DFS and you see his rankings there, 64th on DraftKings and 48th on FanDuel is quite the difference. So if you're interested in playing him as a sleeper, maybe DraftKings is the place to do it. But Craig, do you think he's one of these guys? Are we expecting him to play on the weekend, or what do you think from him?
I think he can make the weekend. His form, he had a bit of a spotty last couple of tournaments before his win at the Honda, but he had been showing good form. So, I think that I like it, say from a DFS point of view, I like that price at 6,300. I think you could do a lot of things. I don't see any reason he can't make the cut. I don't see any reason he can't kind of sneak a top 30 out of this. Is he going to top 10? That's a tall ask. But I like Matt Jones. I like cheering for the guy. He is a journeyman. I want to say he's into his 40s now. I might be a little bit off on that, but he's a guy that's been around for a while. He's worked hard at having the golf career, so it's nice to see him have the win at the Honda and get his way, play his way into the Masters. I could see a make cut here easily for him. I mean, it's not going to be easy for him to do, but I'd say that it's a very reasonable ask. Okay, Siwoo Kim, another one of the winners from this 2021 year. He's got 4 appearances at Augusta National. He has been tied for 21st is his top finish. That was 2019. You can see he is priced anywhere from about 38th to 51st is his world ranking. I would say he is someone who has developed a bit of a reputation as a Pete Dye specialist, winning at the American Express this year, winning at Players Championship a few years back. Siwoo Kim, what are your thoughts?
3 of 4 made cuts in his 4 appearances. He has made the cut in 3, 2 top 25s. I feel like when we look at Siwoo Kim, that is kind of maybe better than people have realized at the Masters, at Augusta National. Undulating greens, a lot of different angles and surfaces. Augusta National, maybe Pete Dye, maybe there's something there. Volatile though. That's what I think when I'm thinking DFS. I'm thinking, it's a GPP play. Last man in at 6,700, but it could be a miscut very easily. Siwoo Kim though also wouldn't be surprised at me if he's in one of those last few groups on Sunday. That wouldn't completely shock me.
Yeah. I don't think you want to get into the whole angles thing, because that talking about angles seems to be everything is a hot button issue in the golf world, but for some reason talking about angles happens to be a hot button issue. Siwoo Kim, so he had his win, followed up with four tournaments where he had 3 missed cuts and a 50th place. So he to me is the epitome of volatile, but when he plays well, he can really pop. I think we could really expect the whole range of possibilities for Siwoo Kim this week.
Yeah, for sure. Kevin Kisner, 5 appearances, 0 top 10s. T21 is his best finish in 2019. Has made the cut in 4 of 5 trips. Kevin Kisner, I feel like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on him? His world ranking is a little bit higher than where the kind of DFS respect is, but I also feel like he's one of these guys that said he can't win here. Like, he doesn't have the distance to win here. What are your thoughts on Kisner?
So first off, I think that's a little bit Kisner just being like, I can't win here. Like it feels to me a little bit
count
like,
me out.
Yeah, like better watch out for DJ. Like it's like I'm trying to think. It's like when we're playing Settlers of Catan, and I keep saying like, Adam's pretty close to finishing. Like, don't make any deals with him.
Look at how long his road is.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like there's a little bit of that going on with Kisner, but the reality is that he is not one of the longest players, and that does mean that he doesn't have as much of an advantage at certain courses, including Augusta. It's not like I'm gonna sort of fully fade him or anything. His recent form hasn't been great. He snuck into the top 30 a couple times in his last handful of starts, but he hasn't really popped. It looked like he might be able to make some noise at the match play, and then Kuchar Kuchar cut that off. What did they went to a playoff, didn't they?
I've
It's all sort
I'm
of
blanking, to be honest.
blurred into the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say he's one of these people who you expect to do well in Florida courses. You expect to do well in kind of the Southeast, but we have
Yeah.
not necessarily seen that translate to Augusta yet.
Okay. Brooks Koepka. I don't really know. Okay, so 5 appearances, 2 top 10s, T2, 2019 when Tiger won. I think he has a pretty outstanding record here at Augusta.
Brooks,
T7.
he's not playing, is he?
I don't think so. I was gonna say, here's his record. I don't think we're gonna see him. If I was a betting man, which I am, I don't think we're gonna see him.
Yeah, you're very high on Brooks's future possibilities at Augusta National, but
Yeah.
the knee injury, it looks like we're not going to see Brooks for a while still. So, moving on, we have Jason Kokrak. Single appearance in 2020, following. I guess it wouldn't have been. Would he have played in there with his win? No, because that was afterwards.
Right.
But no, it was before. But that wouldn't have qualified him.
Wouldn't have counted.
Yeah. So, but Jason Kokrak, I think he is someone who does have potential at Augusta. He's a great driver of the golf ball, and he's a really good putter. That's a combination of things at Augusta that you can do good things with that. What are your thoughts on Kokrak?
Yeah, if I'm looking at DFS at 6,900, there's Connors we've talked about, there's Siwoo Kim's we've talked about, so he doesn't necessarily stand out to me as someone that stands out at that price range. But I guess it wouldn't surprise me entirely if he came out and was a top 40 or top 30.
Well, he did have 3 straight top 10s going into the match play, so his form is good as well. Those are tough tournaments. That's the Arnold Palmer, the Players Championship. And then I'm thinking it was the WGC. I could be wrong on that other one, but pretty good fields regardless. So you have to think his form is good. The game can suit the course. So I like Kokrak this week.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
Okay, Kuchar.
Matt Kuchar. Kuch. 14 appearances, 4 top 10s, a T3 in 2012. 2020, Craig, was his first missed cut since 2010. I think Kuch would have been a quick slide for us if we were doing this 2 weeks ago, but here we go. We're at the match play, and Kuch is, Kuch of old a little bit. He's been apparently working with his swing coach quite extensively over the last few months. He had a great showing at the Dell match play. Immediately, that gives me sleeper consideration for Kuchar at
gives
Augusta.
You those sleeper vibes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's very different asks Austin Country Club versus Augusta National. I do think it demands a little bit more from your complete game at Augusta National. Yep. So we'll see if it translates. But he's someone who has a great history here.
I really don't like the fact that he's playing at the Texas Open.
After playing 7 rounds in 5 days.
I don't understand that.
Yeah. Well,
Well, he's got the Skechers, and he can keep playing rounds as long as he wants.
Nice soft Skechers. It's a good, comfy ride for him. I think it'll be interesting to see whether he does carry over form from the match play into some of these other tournaments. Martin Laird, 3 appearances, best finish the top 20 way back in 2011. I believe he got in here with a win at the Shriners. Is that right, Adam?
That sounds right.
It's somewhere around that time of year that he won. We haven't necessarily seen a ton out of him since then. He's missed the cut in 3 of his last 5 starts. So I think it's a pretty tall ask to ask too much from him this week.
Yeah, I mean, 2 made cuts here in 3 appearances. We are talking about 90 players with another tournament that we've also been talking about, so my head is a little bit scrambled. But yeah, Laird, where he's kind of ranked, I think he's consideration. I think. Yeah, again,
hasn't played here since 2013, I believe was the last time he's played in the Masters. So I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what we get from him this week.
Yeah. Okay, Bernhard Langer. Here he goes. 37 appearances, 9 top 10s. He's, of course, won in 85 and 93. Craig, I'm pretty sure I got my stats right here, my notes right. He's made the cut in 3 straight years. At a T8 in 2014 in his late 50s. Do we ever count this guy out? Like,
not just like for the last 5 years, he's had a 24th. 5 years ago, that would have been what, 2016, and then a 29th last year. I think one of the best things about the 2020 Masters is that Bernard Langer beat Bryson DeChambeau. That's one that prognosticators everywhere love to see that type of thing. To me, I think people love to hate on these things, but this is the example of why it's fun to have this whole winners get to continue
100%.
playing, because you get to see a guy like this. What he is doing for his age is exceptional. It's similar in different ways maybe to what Tom Watson was doing as he was into his early to mid 60s, but it's just exceptional. Obviously, we're not thinking he has a ton of win equity this week, but I still am just blown away by this.
So the past 5 years, he's played really well on the Champions Tour. I don't know how well he's been playing in the last few months. They haven't had a ton of tournaments, but I would double check that. If you want to have a made cut parlay or something like that with Longer. But yeah, I love the fact that golf is the game where you can beat it in so many ways. You can play it in so many ways, and you're in a grouping with Bryson and beating him, hitting, I don't know, a 7-wood when he's hitting 9 iron.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
The thing that just blows me away too is that Augusta National is a place that demands distance, and so like a guy like Bernard Langer at a lot of golf courses, you're like, yeah, like, no, he can do all the things well enough still that it demands for you, but to still be able to do this on a course that demands distance as well, it's just exceptional. So you love to see it. We'll see if he can find a way to make another cut, make it 4 straight here. But yeah. Okay, Mark Leishman, 8 appearances, 2 top 10s. He was tied for 4th back in 2013. He's someone who we've seen a little bit of a roller coaster from over the past, maybe year or so. His form has been very bad at times. It looks like he has recovered some of his form, but thoughts on Leish coming into the
4 straight
2021?
made cuts. 4 straight made cuts. His Masters last year came out of nowhere. I feel like that's the first time he turned the corner. He was T13 last year. Again, looking at the 6K range.
Sorry, to be clear, 4 straight made cuts at the Masters.
Yes, sorry, at the Masters. Yeah, I'm a little bit all over the place. 4 straight made cuts at the Masters. He was T13 last year, which was coming out of quite a slump, I think, especially for him. Mm-hmm. But looking at guys under 7,000, we're talking about Kokrak's Leishman. I love the prospect of a last man in, Mark Leishman, because he has such a great history as a player, but also here.
Yeah, he has missed a couple cuts in his last 10 starts, but he also has a smattering of top 30. Aside from a couple missed cuts, he's got 6 of his last 8. He has been top 40, a 4th place, a couple top 20s. So he has played well after really not having form through last year. We'll see if he can show up here and play well. I'd love to see it.
I think everybody has recognized the name so far, but Craig, we're going into our first amateur, Joe Long. Talk about like a name perfect for golf. Joe Long.
Yeah, it's like you're writing the character. That's the name you want to come up with.
It's like he's competing against Charlie Birdie or something. Like, it's perfect.
It's like a cornerback, a defensive back in football being called Jammer. Like, this is as good as it gets.
I like it. Winner of the 2020 Amateur Championship at Royal Birkdale. One of the few amateurs in here. We'll see. Hopefully one of them or more can make it to the weekend.
Yeah, so Amateur Championship, that's essentially the British Amateur. So don't know much about this guy myself, but yeah, we'll see. There'll be the classic competition between him and a couple others we'll be talking about in a sec for that. What do they give away here? A silver spoon or what? I don't quite.
I don't know.
We'll look that one up though.
Yeah.
Okay, Shane Lowry, 5 appearances. His best finish is tied for 25th, 2020. We have not seen a whole lot out of Lowry since his Open Championship win. I'm not sure what you're giggling about.
Well, the fact that he's still defending Open Champion. Is he going to be paired? Is he going to be paired with DJ and Tyler Stafauci? Like, I don't know. Like, he's been able to milk the Open Championship for as long as anyone.
The champion golfer of the world. He's been champion golfer of the world for, I think, as long as anyone who is not a repeat champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of his form, he has played decently of recent, but still really has not shown necessarily the form that he showed to win the Open. He
Yeah,
did have a
I
top
think
10, I believe it was at the Players. Is that right?
I would have to double check, but I think his 2021 just in general has been better than his 2020. Still, just I think his around the green game and how well he can putt it when he is on makes him a good competitor here.
Yeah, he was 8th at the Players Championship, so good
Oh,
field, strong field, good finish there for him. So maybe we are starting to see him turn the corner a bit. The Open, or the champion golfer of the world. All
there you go.
right.
From Lowry to Lyle, Sandy Lyle, 39 appearances at the Masters, one top 10, got the win in 1988. Last made cut in 2014. It'll be fun to watch him on Thursday and Friday. Craig, anything else to add there? Or
Yeah, I think we might be starting to get close to the tail end of Sandy Lyle Masters appearances, so enjoy them while we've got them.
For sure.
One of the great Scottish golfers of history, so it would be a pleasure to see him make a cut, but it's very, very big ask.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
One Scottish golfer to another. We've got the old timer. We've got the youngin. Robert McIntyre, first Masters appearance. He's a player that I think has tons of potential to do well at this course. He's got a good tee ball. He can be long off the tee. We have seen some good form of him. His first few appearances in the States were not great, but I think we have seen some better stuff. We saw obviously he got out of his group with that. That shot on 18 that rolled right up the drive on 18 that rolled right up to DJ's feet, and DJ saw the writing on the wall in terms of what his weekend was going to look like. But yeah, thoughts on Robbie Mack?
Yeah, disappointing coming over for WGC concession, but I think has made it up since then. Has kind of showed kind of what we expect from Robbie Mack. Interesting. He's in a field with a bunch of lefty champions. Bubba, Weir, Phil. Maybe an interesting prop to have Robert McIntyre top lefty. I don't know if I'm missing any lefties, but that'd be kind of an interesting one.
I think potentially top ranked lefty in the world. But yeah,
right.
No, it is a course that has traditionally shown to be favorable to left-handed players. So whether you draw the ball as a right-handed player or you cut the ball as a lefty, I think that's the shot shape. Yeah. Coincidentally, that was the way Bobby Jones hit the ball. So whether or not that was, you make a course, you get to make a golf course, you can make it suit your game. He was one of the architects of Augusta National, and he got to make it to suit his game. Totally. Moving on. Hideki Matsuyama.
9 appearances, 2 top 10s, best finish 5th in 2015, but 6 straight made cuts, 5 of those 6 being top 20s at the Masters. He was low am in 2011. He has a very, very, very good kind of Masters record without that win. I mean, talking about what DJ's looked like prior to his win, that could be what Hideki's kind of looks like. Thoughts on Hideki?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have not seen the best golf out of Hideki. He has been top 20 at the Masters in 5 of his last 6 starts. But he only has 2 top 20 finishes in his last 7 starts on the PGA Tour. So I'm a little bit worried about Hideki right now in terms of his form. But we just had a brief little update on the Valero Texas Open, and he was 3 under through, I think, about 6 holes. So, by the time you're watching this, he's probably won that, and we're going to love his form going into the Masters. But yeah.
I like Hideki.
I think it continues to come down to the putter for him. He has been one of the best ball strikers in the world for years, and the putter has held him back. I don't know if he's necessarily solved that, but any given week, that can be remedied.
For sure.
Okay, one of the big boys that I think we are cheering for, and I think there's always a lot of fans cheering for this guy. Rory McIlroy, 12 appearances, 6 top 10s. Best finish was first back in 2011. Oh no, right. Fourth back in 2015. Probably my favorite golfer just as a golf fan. Someone who has fallen. He's tumbled all the way down to 11th in the world. There's been a lot of talk about what's going wrong with his game right now. I think both of us think that there's maybe more talk than there needs to be. His game is not great, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be, and could potentially be fairly close to a fix. It doesn't seem to be, sometimes you see people are just in shambles. It's all aspects of their game. It really just seems to be some of the precision with his approach play that seems to be hurting Rory right now. Unfortunately, that is something he'll need at Augusta. But thoughts on Rory?
Yeah. Horrible opening round in 2020 on Thursday. Brought it back to make the cut and finished very well last year. I mean, golf fans, he needs this as his fourth major to get all four. He's been working with a coach to kind of with those little flip wedge 80-yard shots, 100-yard shots that I think everyone sees as his weakness right now. Yeah, I don't know what to do with Rory. So
at the Masters at Augusta National, he has been top 10 in 6 of his last 7 outings. If there's anyone who should be somewhat dominant at Augusta in terms of what their skill set is, it is Rory McIlroy. He drives it long. For how long he is extremely accurate. I would love to see him turn the corner. I would love to see it happen this week. But he's another guy, I think, if you want to hear us talk more about Rory, probably on the podcast, we'll get deeper into him.
Yeah, for sure. Phil Mickelson, this is a great, man, these M's are some quality players are here. Phil Mickelson is the next one. 28 appearances, 15 top 10s. He's won in 04, 06, and 2010. He has 19 top 25s at the Masters, was 55th last year. The story with Phil, I think he's kind of turned that age. He's past 50 now. He's trying to compete on kind of both. He's dominating Champions Tour. He's playing some PGA Tour events, not to great success. He's been spraying his driver quite a bit, hitting those bombs, but those bombs are dropping all over the place. What do you think of?
They're not like the precision guided bombs. They're more like carpet bombing style. Made the cut at the Masters, 5 of his last 6. So he does still seem to pull out all the different savviness and experience to squeeze every advantage and shot he can here. He has made 2 consecutive cuts on the PGA Tour, so maybe we are starting to see a little bit of a resurgent Phil Mickelson. I don't think he's ever going to be someone who we see with the form that we have once seen, but
I also think the patrons could give him a little bit of, fountain of youth. He's popping his thumbs. He's giving thumbs up all over the place. I don't know. He might just the fans might give him something a little extra.
Yeah, would love to see it. We'll see what we get from Phil this week. A made cut, having him around for the weekend, I think would be a bit of a bonus.
Yeah.
Larry Mize, another one of our old winners in the field, 37 appearances. He won it back in 1987. He's got 3 top 10s. Really, I think a guy that we will all be surprised if he's around for the weekend. Any other thoughts on Larry Mize?
Kind of like you said about Lyle, let's just enjoy it while he's still playing.
Yeah, we'll enjoy it while he's able to keep going. It's been 3 years since he has made a cut here, so it would be a bonus if he makes the weekend.
Yeah,
I would say I give Phil slightly higher chances than Larry Mize.
A little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. Francesco Molinari, interesting figure this past little while, but he has 9 appearances at the Masters, 1 top 10. It was a T5 in 2019. He looked like he was in contention or could win that year in 2019. He had that Open Championship. He was playing really good golf then. He did miss a cut in 2020. Interesting. I mean, he's caddied for his brother back a while ago before he even played here, so he has great knowledge of the course. We didn't see him for a long time after the COVID break. He has played a little bit more, kind of in that California swing. What are your thoughts on Molinari?
Yeah, I mean, to me, with Molinari, it comes back to the 2019 year for me, because it was just, he was so close down the stretch there.
Yeah.
He was playing dominant golf, like not just Open champion at the time, but he was the best player, I think, at the 2018 Ryder Cup, which had happened in the preceding fall. And then it looked like until everything happened on 15 at Augusta National, it looked like he was right in the mix. I think a lot of people were happy to see Tiger take it down, but I was pulling for Francesco at the time. Now, I like it. Recent form, it's been a little bit up and down. He's got last 6 starts, he's got 3 top 10s, 2 missed cuts, and a 59th. So we've seen the good, we've seen the bad, and not a whole lot in between. It really could go either way.
And the ugly with the top
We definitely saw the ugly at Pebble Beach when he cold topped one. Yeah. Recent form. Did you get recent form at Augusta?
Yeah, miscut in 2020, 2019, obviously.
And then so three of the made cut in 3 of the last 4, with a couple of those being top 20s.
Yeah.
Okay, Colin Morikawa, the newest first-time major winner. He's got a single appearance here. He was tied for 44th last year. As Adam says, rookies are not allowed to win at Augusta National, so maybe now this is the year he's allowed to go there and win. But man, I'm excited to see once Morikawa and Hovland start to understand how to play Augusta National. I'm excited to see what he can do, because I think as long as he shows up with a decent putter, I think he's one of these people that could do very well at this course.
His talent is absolutely outrageous. He might be the best iron player we're going to see for the next little bit, with some people clipping at his heels. I don't know. It could be Morikawa though. Like you said, when we were talking about Hovland, if you go to Morikawa and say we need to hit 138, I expect he's going to hit 138. Like he's like
precise. 138 point what?
Yeah, exactly. I'm interested though, if you had to go, either or straight up Morikawa or Hovland, where would you go, Craig?
In terms of finish for Augusta National?
Finish for 2020. 2021.
I would probably take. I don't know, to be honest. I'd have to think about that. I can't give you a fresh answer. I would probably say I would flip a coin with either side having them. Like I think it's pretty close. To me, I think Morikawa potentially has more win equity, just because if he shows up and he's putting it well, I think it's just there's one weakness in his game that is so glaring, and so potentially limiting, because when he can't putt, it just limits. It holds back everything else he does. Where I think Hovland has the upside, but he doesn't necessarily have that Achilles heel that can show up. For Hovland, it could be a whole bunch of different things that don't work. But the win at the WGC at Concession, we have seen really good form of him of recent, but he's young still. He doesn't show up every week. I would love to see him contending this week.
If he's in contention, we'll be hearing a lot about his putting grip, but yeah, he has all the skills to be there.
Yeah, it's the saw, it's not the claw, it's not the pencil grip, it's the saw.
There you go. Sebastian Munoz, playing in his second Master. He's played here once before. He was T19 in 2020. Another one of these guys, Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like he had kind of a better end of 2020 than perhaps he's been playing recently in the tail end of 2021 or at the start of 2021.
Yeah, I think so. Like summer and fall 2020, he seemed to have better form than he has now. But I don't necessarily think he has been on the ideal courses for him either. I think he is someone who really does excel more when he can use distance off the tee as a weapon.
Right.
But yeah, his form hasn't been as good, I don't think, as it was going into the Masters last year, I would say.
Yeah, I think the expectations would be a little bit lower.
Yep. But, for a guy like him, I think 2 years in a row at the Masters, I think that's a success right there.
For sure.
Kevin Na, a guy that we could... I don't think we have any idea what to expect from Kevin Na. 9 appearances, his best finish is tied for 12th. Obviously, we know he is an elite putter at times. He can be streaky hot and can really get on rolls and make them in bunches. Thoughts on Kevin Na?
Best finish 2012-2015. He was also 12th in 2012. He was T13 last year. So this is all Masters records. So he has played well here. A bunch of top 15s, no top 10s, but a bunch of top 15s. Withdrew from the Players' Championship after a big number. So I don't know how injured he necessarily was, because he backed that up with a pretty decent performance. Well, his performance at the match play wasn't great, but he took down DJ.
Yeah, he made a big number on 17, and that was basically it, I think, after Thursday at the Players' Championship. He does have the win earlier this year at the Sony Open in Hawaii, so we have seen really good form from him recently. He's one of these people, I think, that is less about maybe making frequent appearances in the top 10, and more it seems like he just happens to go out there and win periodically.
Yeah, I like one of these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if he top 20, but I also wouldn't be completely surprised if he missed the cut.
Yeah, agreed. Joaquin Niemann.
Joaquin.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is it me this time?
I don't know. I keep losing track.
It's okay. I'm going to take over Niemann then. One appearance here, missed cut in 2018. Plus, as an amateur, he was +9, missed by 4 strokes. So excited to see Niemann, who is up to 28th in the world, play Augusta National again. He's ranked kind of in that 30th to 23rd range on FanDuel. He's a little bit higher, 23rd. I mean, still very, very young, Niemann. It'll be interesting to see his growth, but I think he still has a lot of the skills you need for Augusta National right now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Niemann's game. I think he hasn't missed a cut in his last, 7 appearances at least. That's all I have pulled up here. He had a couple second places. He had the playoff loss to Harris English at the Tournament of Champions.
Yeah.
I think this guy, we still don't know what his ceiling is. I think he has a game that I think will translate at Augusta National. So he is probably someone who we were missing a little bit from the 2020 edition. And so it'll be exciting to see what he can do this week.
Yeah, it's hard just to go from miscut to, a top 10. So I think you need to have lower expectations, but his talent is there.
I do not lower my expectations at all. I expect the most.
Fair.
Okay, Jose Maria Olazabal. I don't know if I'm assuming he's coming over unless you've heard anything to the contrary. He's got 31 appearances, 8 top 10s here. He's a 2-time winner, 94-99. I don't think we're expecting a whole lot from him this week. Any thoughts on Jose?
Nope. Great if he shows up.
Yeah, he hasn't made the cut since I believe it was 2014.
2014?
So a made cut would be a bonus here for Jose.
Yeah, for sure. Louis Oosthuizen, 12 appearances at the Masters. He only has 1 top 10, which is kind of surprising to me. Second place, 2012. A guy that I feel like we both think, rises to the occasion at the majors. He's got that Grand Slam second place finishes at all the majors. What do you think? I mean, he's kind of, in terms of his world ranking and for DFS, he's 27th, 28th, kind of right where his world ranking is. What do you think of Usti?
Yeah, well, I mean, he only has the 1 top 10. You look at his last 7 years here at the Masters, he has been top 30 in 6 of them, top 25 in 5 of them. So, the top 10 is such an arbitrary number. He has had a lot of good results here. We have seen some up and down play from him so far this spring, this in the 2021 year. Yep. He was 6th place at I believe, what would that have been? The Arnold Palmer. I'll look that one up. But he has a couple top 10 so far this year. Yeah, I think we've seen good form. I like his potential this week.
Yeah, me too. When I think of majors, but even Augusta, I think of Uzi as a good, like you said, top 25 instead of cherry picking a top 10 number.
Yeah, and the 6th place was at the WGC at Concession. I missed by a week there. But yeah, I like the upside of Usti at any major basically. Yep. Carlos Ortiz. First time, he's a rookie. Adam, you probably think that we give him no shot then. I think he is someone who we potentially see an upside. Well, maybe I see an upside maybe of a top 25 finish. A top 10 would be an absolute bonus for him. He is a very good ball striker. He does have distance. He maybe doesn't have the most consistency week to week, but when he has his game, he can play at a very high level. We saw him stare down DJ at the Houston Open right before the last Masters. Thoughts on Ortiz?
Yeah, so as a first-timer, he can't win, but he can still have a great tournament.
They actually don't let you.
Yeah, Sung Jam, T2 last year. Unlike, Brian Gay, Jim Herman, who we talked about winning into this tournament, Carlos Ortiz, won the Houston Open, fending off, like you said, DJ, Hideki, Brooks Koepka were all clipping on his heels. I like that type of win a little bit more than, potentially the other winners that have won into
It's a very, very
Masters.
quality win.
Very quality win. Very like his long-term prospect, but this year expectations are low for Ortiz.
Yeah, we've seen form from him so far this year. He was 4th place at the Waste Management. He has missed a couple of cuts since then, but has shown some form as well. So I think he's a bit of a wild card in terms of what we could possibly get out of him this week.
Yeah, for sure. Ollie Osborne is our second amateur that we're talking about after long. I don't know much about him. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to BS you here. He's runner-up at the 2020 US Am, which I believe was at Bandon Dunes. But yeah, I don't really know much of him. And hopefully, like I said, we just get one of these amateurs to the weekend.
He is an SMU athlete. That's about the extent of the information that Google is giving me right now. We saw him at the Barracuda in 2019. And that's all I got for you. I think it is always interesting to see who comes to the top of the pile with the amateurs, because one of the things that you can count on from the golf broadcast in general, but especially at the Masters, is we will, if he is top am, we will have his whole life story by the end of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like the Olympics in that way. You need the backstory to kind of
flesh it out.
Picture, right? All right, Ryan Palmer. Next up, we're jumping over to the P's. Ryan Palmer, 5 Masters appearances, 1 top 10, 10th in 2011. Craig actually hasn't played at Augusta since 2015. He's world ranking. This is a little bit kind of disrespectful. World ranking 26th, but he's ranked in that kind of 50th range for DFS.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's disrespecting him, but clearly someone is. No, Ryan Palmer, we have seen good form from him. You know, he's got a couple top 10s early in the past handful, maybe 10 starts. A couple top 20s in his most recent, I guess, if we're counting, the match play, just missing on the round of 16 at top 20. But yeah, I think it's a little bit surprising to me that he only has 5 Masters appearances. You'd think someone who has been around as long as he has, and I feel like has been a somewhat quality player. Like, I don't think of him as a guy that is a borderline keeping his card type of player. But maybe I haven't followed his career as closely as some of the other guys.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of the stats that people always like to look at, like, how do you find the winner? One of them, I think 10 of the last 10 winners was top 30 in the world coming into the Masters. So potentially that works out in his favor as kind of a sleeper guy that could contend here. He is my one and done for the Texas Open. So hopefully, I hope he's coming in with great form, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. And, made 2 of his last 4 cuts here. So I think, he's playing the best golf of his career. So I would say the needle's a little bit, to me, 65 seems low for Ryan Palmer.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, CT Pan, 1 appearance, 1 top 10, and that was tied for 7th in 2020. He really surprised me in the fall, in November Masters. I did not expect him to be someone who was going to be in the top 10 at the end of it. He proved me wrong. He proved everyone wrong. If you think that the disrespect is there, I would say that maybe the disrespect is a little bit there with this price, but it still seems pretty appropriate.
I think on FanDuel, the disrespect is there for sure.
Yeah, they don't even know if he's in the tournament or not.
Yeah, one good way to keep playing the Masters is to keep finishing well at the Masters, because you get automatically invited back, and that's exactly what he did. That's how he earned his invite for this year. If you keep getting those kind of, I think it's top 12 or top 10, you're going to get invited back, and that's exactly what he did. So it'll be hard. I think with where he's playing right now to parlay that success, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, he does have a top 10 recently. I want to say it was potentially at Corrales, but also a bunch of missed cuts. So maybe not the greatest of form. So he'll have his work cut out for him to see the weekend, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Victor Perez is next. 1 Masters appearance. He's 46th in 2020, tied for 46. Sorry. I think he surprised a lot of people with his WGC match play, even the fact that he got out of his pool, but how well he played. Didn't quite get that conditional status card. I think he needed to get 3rd, but excellent tournament for him. So he has really good form coming in. His pricing is kind of a little bit odd. So he's 30th in the world ranking. 38th in DraftKings, but 55th on FanDuel. That might be, if you're kind of playing
A bit of a
both sides.
disparity there, yeah.
Yeah. I think, I mean, a guy with talent for sure that we've noticed. I'd like to see more rounds at Augusta under his belt, though.
Yeah, he has a couple top 10 so far this year. I believe one of them would have been on the European tour, one of them in America, and then in addition to that, in addition to the match play, where he was in the top 5, ended up 4th. I think we're still very young in the Victor Perez story, so it will be interesting to see how he does this year at Augusta. I don't have a huge amount of expectation for him. I kind of think anything that we see in terms of a high finish would be a bit of a bonus.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Ian Poulter, someone who, it seems like he had sort of forgotten that it was a Ryder Cup year until all of a sudden the match play rolled around. But 15 Masters appearances, 3 top 10s. His best finish was a 7th back in 2012. I have a hard time. We did see really good play from him at Austin for the match play. But I have a really hard time seeing him being super competitive here. But I would love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think his pricing has probably boosted a little bit because of that, especially since that his upset of Rory happened early in the week, so that's for sure taken into consideration. I think all the Europeans know it's a Ryder Cup year because you saw a handful of them coming over to play the Puerto Rico Open and these tournaments they don't usually play, including Poulter. So he definitely aware of that. 25th year last year at the Masters. Interesting, but I don't know if I'll get there myself. But I mean, these veterans, kind of guys like him and Cooch, never surprising if they're around,
Yeah, I do think they also, a bunch of these European players who came over for the WGC stretches and some of the tournaments in between. I think there is also the factor that if they go back to Europe, they're probably quarantining. So they can stay with a little bit more lax rules around COVID in the States than if they were going back and forth. It'd be more difficult for them.
Yeah, for sure. That brings us to Jon Rahm. All right, 4 Masters appearances, 3 top 10s. Best finish is 4th in 2018, but he has 3 straight top 10s at Augusta. But this is the big news, Craig. It is baby watch. It is baby watch for Jon Rahm. His wife is due the second weekend of April. I don't think he gave us specifics about that, but that.
No, he didn't give specifics, but he said, if you're a betting person, don't stake me for the Masters. So I think that tells you all you need to know. I would love to see him have a baby maybe the Thursday after the Masters is over, with a nice green jacket that he can wear. And I think Rahm, it feels like he's been knocking on the door at Augusta. He is in good form. He's got a handful of top 10s so far this year. I am pretty bullish. I would say potentially he would be my betting favorite if I was making the odds.
Yeah, I completely agree. Luckily, this is the Masters, so we have wall-to-wall coverage for every single thing in every single corner of this place. So we will know if Jon Rahm is on property. I think even if he is teeing it up Thursday morning, there is potentially going to be lower ownership in DFS because he will drop out. Without a doubt, he will drop out if his wife goes into labor. So if you want to take that risk, maybe worth considering, and his ownership is a little bit suppressed.
Yeah, I don't think I'll stake him in anything just because I don't want, I feel like there's enough other potential plays. But just from a pure fan point of view, I would love it if Rahm took this down. I think he's due to break through and get his kind of, a real stamp statement win in a major.
I think I would have a little bit of him.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll save that for the preview, the DFS previews next week. Okay, Patrick Reed, everyone's favorite Masters winner. 7 appearances, 2 top 10s with the win in 2018. He is 7th in the world, bumping up ahead of people like Rory McIlroy. Patrick Reed, I think everyone, I think feels like he has a fairly good feel for the course. He seems to show up here every time he plays.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Patrick Reed?
Has that win at Torrey Pines this year, so he's obviously playing well. Not a guy, I like a lot of the golf world is my favorite to kind of roster in DFS. But he wins kind of like we're talking about with Bryson. He wins at a higher clip than it seems like he should, or that people give him the odds for. So yeah, he's kind of
When
you
he
kind
gets
of
in
have to.
contention, he seems to pull off wins.
Yes, exactly. Unlike
Yeah.
opposite of a Finau, seems to be always there, but doesn't quite pull through. Reed pulls through more often than it seems like he doesn't.
Yeah.
Um, Throw him in the bucket of Jordan Spieth. Those guys that become kind of must plays, I think, at Augusta almost.
Yeah, I mean, he went in a final group with Rory McIlroy here and took the thing down. So I don't know. Like I chose him as my one and done last year at Augusta because I feel like
Yeah,
he
it's
plays
true.
above his ability everywhere else. I think it's a game that demands short game. You need to show up with the short game more than you do potentially at other major venues.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Patrick Reed is always gonna be a potential noisemaker at Augusta.
Oh yeah. Next up, this is an interesting one. Justin Rose, 15 Masters appearances, 5 top 10s. Best finish is second, going head to head with Sergio in 2017. Of those 15 appearances, 14 made cuts. He was 23rd last year. He plays this course incredibly well. I did a lot of research for him for our Masters videos for last year as kind of one of the top 5 guys to never win the green jacket. He loves this course. He expects to get a win here at some point in his career. He's running out of career to do that though. And his play in 2021, I don't think gives any really encouraging signs that it's going to be this year that he pulls it off.
Yeah, I think if he's still expecting to get a win, he better start managing his expectations because I have a hard time. I mean, we haven't seen Justin Rose play golf. He was the number one player in the world not too long
Less
ago.
than 3 years ago, it
Yeah,
seems. I think,
and
yeah.
it has been a bit of a tumultuous fall for him. He does have a top 10 in the past couple of months, but I believe it was European Tour, not necessarily as strong a field as some of the other events that we've seen in spring. Yeah, I think I just have a hard time thinking he's going to get his career Masters win, but we'll see.
He will definitely be a guy that makes my players pool for DFS.
I'm not going to make any claims there. I haven't done my full research. I don't know who else is around there in terms of pricing, so I'm not going to say that. I know you're picking that with your heart, maybe your heart and your head in combination, but yeah, he's definitely got the history here.
Yeah.
Okay, one of my favorites,
Here we
someone who
go.
will, I would say, almost assuredly be someone I am staking for the Masters. Xander Schauffele, 3 appearances, 1 top 10. His best finish was tied for second in 2019. He did not necessarily have his best finish in 2020 when it was played in November, but to me, that's a bit of an aberration. We have seen some very good golf from Xander, in the past 6 months, but maybe the last 30 days, 2 months, he has
Yep.
fallen off a fairly exceptional pace he was on there for a while. So when I say fallen off, I don't mean fallen off in the way that some of these players have, but I would have loved to see him come in here with a bit more momentum.
Yeah, I mean, falling off is a miscut at the players. He does in his last 4 events has 2 top 20s. But before that, he was on a string of second place finishes, fifth place finishes. Win going back. If you look at the Tour Championship 72 hole score, he was playing great golf at the end of 2020, early 2021. I still like him. I think people might have got burned with him at, say, the Players Championship, speaking on a DFS perspective. So someone that I would have interest in that I think can easily, quickly rebound from that.
Yeah, I mean, he's got all the tools. He does hit the ball right to left, which, I still think that is probably favored at Augusta as compared to hitting the ball left to right for well,
Sure.
I was going to say for a right-hander, but with the directions, it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter, yeah.
50th in his first year, second the next year he was at Augusta, and then fell off to a 17th. I would say, to me, anything outside the top 10 is a bit of a disappointment for Xander, and I think we want to start see him transitioning, into being in the top 10 here every year and popping for a win fairly soon.
Completely agree. From Schauffele to Scheffler, Scotty Scheffler is next. He only has the one Masters appearance at T19 in 2020, so he does have that top 20 the first time he played here. But yeah, we've seen kind of good form from him recently, Craig. He played really well at the Dell Match Play. He is playing again at the Texas Open. To me, I feel like, the fatigue has got to set in at some point. But what are your thoughts on Scotty Scheffler going into his second Masters?
Yeah, I know Scotty Scheffler looks like he's about 45 years old, but the reality is he's what, 25, 24, 25, somewhere around there. So he did play 7 rounds in 5 days for the Dell Match Play, going all the way to the finals, and he is playing again this week at the Valero Texas Open.
Right.
But you know what? He missed the cut at the Players, so he had 2 days there. He had a week off between the Players and the Match Play. He didn't play the Honda, and he had a week off before the Players. So I feel like it's not like some of these guys, we saw Max Homa, I think, play 8 tournaments straight. We've seen Will Zalatoris this year play a ton of tournaments in a row. I'm not worried about the overall fatigue factor with Scotty. He had, he a second at the Match Play. He was 5th at the WGC at Concession. He was tied for 7th at Waste Management. He's someone we saw really good form from last summer, and then he started to tail off a bit into the fall winter. So I'm really happy to see him in good form again here. I'm excited about what he's going to do.
Yeah, kind of like Xander, just before him, I think Scotty Scheffler kind of has all the tools. Like, we hear other players talk about how talented it is on court. Like Dottie Pepper, I think, is gushed about all the tools, all the shots that he does possess. So I think I like where his game is for Augusta in the long term. This year, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence right now if there's going to be fatigue or if it's still too soon to really challenge kind of for a top spot, which is where he's kind of priced at in DFS. Challenge for that top 10 in only your second appearance.
Yeah, I would just love to see him win the Texas Open, going there with all the momentum in the world. He is someone who doesn't have his PGA Tour win yet, so he needs to break through before even getting his breakthrough major win. He needs to get his breakthrough PGA Tour win. I would love to see that happen and him come into Augusta National with a ton of momentum, but it's a tough ask. I'm cautiously optimistic, I would say, on Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, I think that's fair for sure.
Okay, Charles Schwartzel, another one of our former Master winners. He's got 11 appearances, 2 top 10s, including that win back in 2011. Charles, we've seen, so in terms of what has he done at the Masters over the last few years, we've seen actually some flashes as recently as 2016. He was a top 3, but he missed 2 of the last 3 cuts. So I think there's a lot of maybe skepticism as to whether he can go out there and compete. He was 25th here in November, so we have seen him have good form finish here. Yeah, unfortunately, his recent form on the PGA Tour has not been great. He's missed 3 of his last 5 cuts, and his highest finish in that time is tied for 53rd at the Honda Classic. So I think it's a big ask to see anything spectacular from him this week. What do you think about Schwartzel?
I was just going to say, since his last Masters, he does have 1 top 20. It was the Farmers Insurance Open this year. I think his world ranking
and that's a good field.
Yeah, that is a good field. But I think his world ranking does kind of accurately kind of portray where he is, where his game is at right now. I don't think he's going to just be able to walk into Augusta and compete right away, but crazier things have happened, and he clearly he has good finishes here, so who knows?
Yeah, I think it's a big ask. I think he's someone I think I would give maybe a 50-50 or slightly better shot to be around after the weekend, but maybe a limited upside.
Yeah, I would give him probably a better chance than some of these kind of recent winners on the PGA Tour and some of the older champs. I think he's a slight kind of tick above that. But more in that tier than kind of...
Yeah, just his Masters winning form is a long ways from where he is right now.
For sure. One champion to another. Adam Scott, 19 appearances, 5 top 10s. He has that win in 2013, 34th here at the Masters last year. He's in the top 30 in the official world golf rankings. He's kind of around 25th in DFS pricing. Craig, I know he's one of yours that you know you love to play some Adam Scott. What do you think?
Well, he's one that is closer to my heart than I would say my head in terms of backing. I would love to see Adam Scott make some noise here. We have seen sort of glimpses, teases of decent form from Adam Scott, but we really haven't seen great form. He has a Genesis win 2020, but he hasn't really. He's got a top 10. He's got a 13th place finish recently, but we haven't seen sort of anything great from him in a while. He also is not quite the ball striker he used to be. His ball strike, I mean, he still has the beautiful swing. There's a few people who have as picture perfect swing as Adam Scott, but he's relying a little bit more on the short game, and his putting has actually been fairly good compared to back in his playing prime, I would say.
Yeah, I think he does get himself up for the majors a little bit. Maybe Louis Oosthuizen kind of similar like that, and obviously has that good history here. Around those guys like the Paul Caseys, the Jason Days, the Louis Oosthuizen that I think we've seen more out of in this calendar year than Adam Scott. But I mean, yeah, he can now still pop for a top 10 here, no problem. I feel
like. I mean, he hasn't missed a cut here since 2009. He was 34th here in 2020, 18th the year before. So very capable still of getting a high finish here. It's just going to be a little bit of a matter of how much does his sort of savvy make up for not being as prime of a ball striker as he once was. Okay, Webb Simpson. Is this me? I don't know if I lose track of whether it's me or you.
I'm ready to talk about him. Go ahead.
Webb Simpson, 9 appearances, 2 top 10s. Best finish was tied for 5th in 2019. Webb is a guy, I feel like we know him as someone who is in the elite, maybe just below kind of the top dogs. He seems to have all the tools in the bag, except maybe he lacks a little bit of distance compared to other top players. Great putter. Has managed to figure out the arm lock thing. He was someone whose career was potentially derailed after the whole anchoring ban, but he's managed to figure out the arm lock. So hopefully they don't ban that now, and Webb will have to scramble for some new way of putting. But I do think maybe he has not had the success at Augusta that he potentially has had at other PGA Tour venues because of that lack of distance. But yeah, you're eager to talk about him. What are your thoughts on Webb?
That club he's holding there, I think he does make up for his distances with those kind of clubs, those hybrids, the woods, those long irons. I think he has the complete game. There's no problem with that. He has a T5 and a T10. His best 2 appearances are in his last 2. I feel like I saw an interview with him after the 2020, one of his rounds in 2020. He says he has approached the course differently. His approaches into the par 4s is missing on the right side. It's much more conservative, saving that par and scoring on the par 5s. He says 13 is his absolute favorite hole in any course around the world. So a guy that likes it.
Weird. I think most people hate that hole.
This is the only guy early in 2021 I put any stake behind. I bet him outright. Worse odds than what we're showing right now, so I don't feel great about it. I think I got him at 38-1.
That's not too far off.
But I feel like in DFS, he hasn't done that much recently that people are going to be jumping to play him. I absolutely love Webb Simpson for this year's Master. He might be my pick to win. I feel like it's kind of a sneaky one. Maybe not my one and done, but a pick I like to win. So I like a lot about Webb Simpson. He hits it high. He's putting well. All those things.
Yeah, we have seen some good play from him. So he was 6th place at Concession at the WGC there when Colin Morikawa won, and he was 4th at the Sony Open in Hawaii when Kevin Na won. And like you said, he might be one of these guys that he's not a natural at Augusta, but he has started to figure it out. And so if that is the case, then I think he's a pretty savvy player. So maybe we're seeing him come into his Masters, his Augusta National prime right now.
Yeah, I think
Keeps
so.
the string of top tens alive.
Yeah. Okay, I guess it's me now. Now I'm losing track. I guess I'm talking VJ. Okay, VJ Singh is the next one here after Simpson. We're going to Singh. 27 appearances for VJ, 6 top tens. He has a win in 2000. He withdrew last year. I think we actually have seen him a couple times on the PGA Tour actually this year. Hops around, mostly Champion Tour recently, but if we're talking about the guys we've already talked about, is the past winners, the guys that have won on the PGA Tour this year, VJ Singh, I think, belongs in that category. If we're seeing him on the weekend, I think it's a good tournament for him.
Yeah, made the cut in 2018, but that's the only one he's made in the past 5 years. So seeing him on the weekend would be great, but it's a bit of a long shot to see that happen.
Yeah.
Okay, Cameron Smith. 4 appearances, 2 top tens, tied for second in 2020. I would say probably one of my favorite storylines of the 2020 Masters. I honestly, I have slowly and then maybe all at once fallen in love with this guy's game. I love
Adam Scott. You said that you're moving on from Scott. You're going to Cameron Smith.
Just the way, in 2020 I was following him fairly closely. The way that I think I might have had him as a sleeper, that was why, but the way that he seemed to be all over the place and still was coming out of the trees, doing everything hitting the ball all over the course, but managing to make a score on every hole. And elite short game, elite putter. I think he's one of these guys who his ball striking can be good. It doesn't always show up, but he manages usually to figure out even when it's not there and really pop for higher when his ball striking is great combined with his short game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of have a Augusta specialist in the making from the looks of it. Like 4 for 4 made cuts here. I don't know what's going on with FanDuel, but no pricing there. It's going to be high. It's going to be around the 20th area, I think, when it does come out. I love Cameron Smith. I think he might attract a lot of ownership, though. So that might be a reason to be a little bit hesitant. But overall, just looking at it as a fan or as a golf, as a golf fan, thinking DFS and betting aside, I'm excited to watch him play Augusta again this year, without a doubt.
I think he's coming in. I mean, I'd have to think back what his form was coming in 2020, but his form is great right now. He's top 20 in 3 of his last 4 starts. All of them are top 30s. A 4th place. I don't know. I'm very high on Cameron Smith long term, but I also think coming in this year, maybe it's a little bit of recency bias with the tie for second and what we saw. A few magical shots we saw from him along the way. But I'm bullish on Cam Smith this week.
Yeah. Next up, Jordan Spieth. We get to the golden boy himself. 7 appearances, 4 top tens, a win in 2015. There was a point there in the mid 2010s where it looked like he was never going to lose at Augusta again. He was absolutely so dominant here. Fell off a little bit. We know the story with Jordan Spieth. I don't need to tell you about it. Fell off, but hey, come 2021, we're seeing the old Jordan Spieth again, and everyone is excited. There's not many golfers in the world that gets people going much like Jordan Spieth, and I think we can say Spieth is back. He's only 53rd in the world right now with his kind of string of good play recently, but he's priced up 9th here, and people think that is not giving him enough respect.
Yeah, so last 6 starts, we've seen 4 top 10s, 5 top 20s, no missed cuts. So Jordan Spieth, for all intents and purposes, is back. Is he back to winning majors? I think we're going to see whether is he going to come out and win? It's not likely. But is he going to come out and contend? Then it's not likely. Even his odds, no one is likely to win. So is he going to contend though? That's what's going to be interesting to me. If he comes out here and contends, then that to me is like a warning shot for all the majors going forward, because he is one of these people who, as moments get bigger, he seems to be able to rise to them. So even with his slump, he has not missed a cut here. He has, 46th in 2020 was maybe the lowest of the low, but before that, his worst finish here had been 21st. He's been in the top 3 4 times. All 4 of those top 10s were top 3 finishes, and he's just missed another top 10. He was 11th. So, he seems to be one of these people that did not take long to figure out Augusta, and it'll be very interesting to me if, now that he is back in form, I almost expect that he will be in the top 10 here. It would be honestly more surprising to me if he is not in some way relevant this week.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I would be more surprised if he is not in the conversation Sunday than if he is. Like, yeah, he might not win, but he's going to do something to be noticeable on Saturday or Sunday or whatever it is. I mean, he is just a freak around here. He plays Augusta National so well.
Very nice. A good kind of freak. Oh, okay.
A good freak, super freak. I'm very excited. It feels like a while as a golf fan that we've kind of seen this Jordan Spieth at Augusta.
And if he is relevant on Sunday, and if he is in contention, get ready for the golf world to go a little bit crazy, because we've seen glimpses of it at the Waste Management and at AT&T. This guy moves the dial, and so if it happens at Augusta, I should take that. I qualify that actually. Don't expect the golf world to go crazy. Expect more people to be tuning in to watch golf than probably if anyone else does anything relevant, because Spieth seems to attract a broader audience and brings an excitement level that I don't think anyone outside of Tiger Woods does.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Okay, Henrik Stenson, 15 appearances, 1 top 10, best finish, tied for 5th back in 2018. One of these guys that unfortunately we have not seen Henrik Stenson's best golf in a little while. I think it'll be very interesting to see if we do get to see good golf, high-end golf from him again. But I actually am curious I don't know offhand how he's qualified for this. Is it a lingering from a major?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not entirely sure. I didn't have that ready. I'll look it up, but he is one of these guys that seems to have completely fallen off from, post-COVID, from where he once was a player, and recently in the late 2010s. I don't know what's going on with Henrik Stenson right now, but he doesn't seem to be in any resembling the golfer he was recently.
Yeah, so it was 2016 Open Championship. So this may be his last shot here at the Masters, unless he does get his game back into form, because I think that is a 5-year exemption that he gets from that. I could be wrong on that. Correct me if I am wrong. So this might be the last time we see him at Augusta in a while. He's 5 straight missed cuts. It's not looking great for Henrik right now.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, Tyler Stafauci, the reigning U.S. amateur champ at Bandon Dunes, took it down. I think the third and final amateur that we have in this field, so it'll be interesting to see if one of Ollie or Long or Tyler can get through the weekend, get into the cabin, get that low am honor. But yeah, that's about it. Like you said, we're not deep into the amateur golf world, maybe yet.
Yeah, I can tell you that he is currently attending Georgia Tech. That's about the extent of it. He played in the 2018 U.S. Open. He missed the cut there. I think he is planning to turn pro fairly soon. So it may be that this is the last time we see him as an amateur. Oftentimes that is the case where they have an exemption into a major, and then after that's over. Although he would also have other ones based on his U.S. Am win, so he might ride out a couple more exemptions. A tangent, maybe I'll get into it another time, but I think it's ridiculous. I think people who earn exemptions as amateurs should be able to turn pro and still keep those exemptions, but that's just my opinion.
Maybe we'll save that for a podcast rant.
Yeah. Okay, Robert Streb, 2 appearances here, probably both other times. He won the RSM Classic. He seems to be a specialist winning that tournament. Got in here with a win at the RSM Classic in the fall. I don't think anyone's expecting a whole lot from Robert Streb. He seems to really just pop every once in a while at what is it, Sea Island there? Sea Island. But yes, thoughts on Robert Streb?
not to discredit the guy, but I don't have much for his Masters odds or chances. Again, a guy that I'm sure is happy to go through the gates again and drive down Magnolia Lane. Beyond that, 4 rounds I think would be much better than 2.
Yeah, we saw 13th from him at the Honda, but prior to that, he had 5 straight miscuts. So I think it would be, I mean, two appearances, best finishes, miscut. I think it would be awesome for him if he makes the weekend.
Yeah. Kind of on a similar note, Hudson Swafford is next. Both guys ranked over 100 in the world. He has 1 appearance here. It's a miscut in 2017. You get that win, you get in. He got that win at Corrales Punta Cana when it was a full points event, so he is in. But again, a guy that I think I don't have a lot of expectations for him in terms of a high finish, but again, making the weekend, making the cut, I think would be a good step.
Yep, agreed. I don't have much to add there. I think he is. It is fortunate for him that Corrales Punta Cana was not held as an opposite field event, because Joel Damon, who just won the Corrales, does not get in because it was an opposite field event that week. And obviously it was a bit stronger of a field when Hudson won it back in the fall. So hopefully he can make the most of this appearance.
He had to fend off Mackenzie Hughes.
He defends off and
strong field.
And my boy, Will Zalatoris, who we'll get to shortly.
Oh, and Zalatoris,
yeah. Okay, from one stud to another. Justin Thomas, 5 appearances, 1 top 10, best finish 4th in 2020. Seemed to be a little bit of a backdoor 4th place finish, in my opinion. But our recent Players Champion, you know, has dealt with a whole myriad of things, both self-imposed and imposed on him by the world and you know, personal tragedy. Yeah. Justin Thomas, I think he is coming in here with decent form. What do you think about JT?
Well, one thing, like 1 top 10 in 5 appearances. Okay, what does that mean? Step back a little bit. 4 of those 5 appearances are top 25s.
Yeah.
So it's not like he doesn't play this course well. This course does take a little. I mean, most people aren't Jordan Spieth, and you just come in and have great finishes or Sungjae
4 straight top 3s or something.
Yeah, 4 straight top 3s. A course that I think fits him really well. I would be surprised. This is maybe a bold statement, but I would be surprised at the end of his career he doesn't have a green jacket. He's not playing this well into his 50s because he's won here. That I think it sets up for him long term. He is such a good approach player. I loved what we saw from the Players Championship. He had a great run on the weekend there. I don't know. Yeah, anything can happen with JT this week, but he hasn't been. It hasn't been a long couple weeks or months of good form. It's been kind of spots.
No, but I think it's maybe similar to Rory. The bad form, if we want to call it that we've seen from JT.
Right. Yes.
If it was any other golfer, it wouldn't be that bad a form. You know, he was 13th at Waste Management. He was 15th, I believe, at Concession. Had the win at TPC Sawgrass. You know, I don't think his form is so far gone that it's going to take much. I think he is playing good golf. It's just a matter of if he can put 4 rounds together at Augusta.
And I think like his one weakness seems to be kind of that sprayed driver every so once in a while, but he did get that hooking draw at Sawgrass that everyone kind of fell in love with and almost went in the water in 18.
Yeah, I would say maybe you have to hope for some kicks if that's.
Yeah, but we've seen. I mean, the winner profile here with Phil Mickelson, Bubba Watson isn't necessarily kind of the fairway finders. So if that's his one weakness, you can still get around Augusta and win, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it demands everything from you, I think, Augusta National. Yeah. But we talk about Colin Morikawa being elite in terms of his approach play and his precision into greens. I think JT is still the top dog there. I think he is the one who Colin is the one. Colin's coming for him, but JT's still the top dog. I don't think anyone hits the dead hand wedge as good as JT. The precise distance control. I think if those things are on, he's going to be a force.
Yeah, completely agree. Michael Thompson, 2 Masters appearances. This will be his 3rd. He got a T25 in 2013. Getting some respect from FanDuel with that 60th kind of ranking there, but another one of these guys in the stretch here that is another player with outside the top 100 that is getting another Masters appearance under their belt. Any notes on Michael Thompson, or what do you think, Craig?
Well, I not really. I mean, he's in here. I think it was the 3M Open he won last summer. He has shown flashes of somewhat decent form so far in 2021, but I think him making the cut and finding a top 40, top 30 would be pretty darn good this week.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Brendan Todd, 2 appearances, best finishes, a missed cut. I think probably his best golf has been what we have seen over the past, maybe it's been a year and a half now, I would say. But I think he's someone who can potentially play well here.
He kind of has that putter's chance, right? He is one of the best putters out there on any kind of tournament he walks into. So whenever if you start hitting 30 footers, then absolutely he has a chance. I think that's kind of what I think with Brendan Todd.
Yeah.
His ball striking is not going to keep him
relevant.
Him a good, will have a solid floor for every tournament, but his putting kind of keeps him in it.
Yeah, for sure. He does. He has, So in terms of cut making, I think this is where we kind of have to look at different things. He's made 7 of his last 8 cuts, but he has only 3 of those are top 25. So I think that's sort of what we're going to get. I think he's probably one of these guys that, he has not made the cut here yet, but I would give him a better than even chance of making the cut. It's just, I don't expect him, even if he makes the cut, it's a long shot to hope he's going to get up into the top 20, say.
Yep. Yeah, but an interesting guy to throw in at higher odds in that make cut parlay if that's something you want to do.
Yeah.
Jimmy Walker is next. 7 Masters appearances, only 1 top 10, T8 it was in 2014. He's coming in, I think, on his 2016 PGA Championship. That's why we're seeing him world ranking 523rd in the world. That's why we're seeing Jimmy Walker in the Masters. His outrights are kind of with those, former winners, not really giving him much chance at all.
Yeah.
What do you think about Jimmy Walker?
I think it's pretty fair. So we have 8 starts for him. His last 8 starts, he's made 2 cuts. So he's 2 of 8, and his best finish there is 58th once he's made the cut. So if he makes a cut, I think that's a fabulous week for him. And even if he does, I don't expect him to do a whole lot. Okay, Matt Wallace, another one of the angry golfers on the list. He's got 2 appearances here. His best finish is tied for 46th. That was last fall in 2020. Matt Wallace, I would say his form has left something to be desired over the past little bit here. He has, he's made 4 of his last 7 cuts. He does have a top 10 over on the European Tour, and I believe it was at Concession that he worked his way, it was Arnold Palmer Invitational that he worked his way into 20. A top 20. I don't think he is in his best form, I would say.
Yeah, he's like a hard guy for me to nail down. He seems like he plays his best golf when he is on the European Tour. He did come over for the Puerto Rico Open and missed a cut there. I feel like a golfer of his caliber shouldn't really be missing that cut. And his made cuts are only 2 of the last 5. 4 of those being since he's come over, he's played 4 tournaments. He's made the cut twice, I guess. Match play is a little bit harder to define, but
yeah, I don't have very high expectations for Matt Wallace this week, but I do think he is someone that is a harder one to predict, I would say.
It is, because we see him a little bit all over the place. But looking, at his previous results, he does have a T4 at the Memorial. Really harder course, good field there. So in the U.S., obviously. So, a little bit harder for me to nail down. But he has that potential for top 20 here, I think.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. It's just I wouldn't say that the probability of that happening, I wouldn't say is very high. But he has the game if everything's clicking for that to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Bubba Watson, 12 appearances, 3 top tens, 2 wins. Someone who I would have, you know, until the match play, I would have given him a long shot of being relevant here. He went out, he made the round of 16. He did not advance past that, but we saw better golf, I think, than what we have seen from him in a while. He clearly has a good feel for Augusta. What do you think about Bubba this week?
Yeah, his best performances before then were Zozo and CJ Cup, limited field, no cut events, so he could get 4 rounds in. But I mean, I don't know what to say about Bubba and Augusta. I mean, it's Bubba and Augusta. Like you have these Bubba tracks. Augusta is one of them. He always has a chance. Like Riviera, he performs well there. He always has a chance. Do I expect him to have a 3rd win in his career? Probably not. But it also wouldn't entirely shock me because that's Bubba Watson.
Yeah,
he is the guy that breaks the mold. Everyone else, needs to have good form or a top 10 from the previous year in a major. Bubba Watson breaks that mold.
Yeah, so made the cut here, 9 of his last 10 starts. He has not the best in 2020. He was 57th last year, but 12th the year before and 5th the year before that. So we have seen good results at Augusta, not in the too distant past. I mean, I would say you have to think he's going to be around on the weekend, but still maybe a bit more of a long shot to be top 20.
Yeah.
But it's Bubba, so you never know.
It's Bubba.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's Spieth and Bubba down the stretch in contention.
That would be a little bit bizarre, but yeah, I guess
flashbacks to 2014.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, from one winner to another, Mike Weersy, 21 appearances, 2 top 10s. He has a win, obviously, in 2013. If you go to any Canadian pub or sports bar, they have some kind of Masters Weir memorabilia. If it's a sign, I don't know how many flags he had to sign or photos, but every clubhouse or sports bar has one. He is our hero here for golf in Canada. I think he had my most successful bet last year. I bet him best left-hander, and he won. He beat out Phil and Bubba. He was 51st here last year. Since he's been on the Champions Tour, kind of a little bit rejuvenation maybe in his career. He wasn't really competing on the PGA Tour late in his 40s. So one of these guys, I mean, I'm sure you have thoughts on Weersy, but a made cut, a weekend is great, I think.
Yeah, making the cut would be great. We, just purely from a Canadian golf fan point of view, it has been great to see Mike Weir become very competitive on the Champions Tour. As soon as he, as soon as he aged into it, I think, he has always been held back by a lack of distance, and so it just became very difficult for him to compete as he got later into his 40s. And in addition to that, has had health problems, has had injury problems. So unfortunately, it's just been 2 of the last 10 cuts he's made at Augusta. But we have seen, I would say, the best golf we've seen from Mike Weir in a long time on the Champions Tour in the last little bit. So I'd love to see him make a cut here.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, I'm skipping ahead here. Lee Westwood.
Whoa. Don't skip on Lee, man.
I know. Someone tugging at your heartstrings. I know. 19 appearances, 6 top 10s. Best finished is 2nd in 2010. Lee, I think no one, you were very high on Lee Westwood coming into the Masters in 2020, but I think even you would not have expected some of the golf we've seen from him in the past couple months. He was 2nd place back-to-back weeks at the Arnold Palmer Invitational and then at the Players' Championship.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say beyond that. Like, Lee Westwood is playing exceptional golf right now. I think he has an extensive history of success here without the win. Adam, I know you love Lee Westwood here. Take it away.
I love Lee Westwood here. It's weird. He's got in price in DFS and world ranking and outrights into this category. I never thought we would see him again. I thought, he barely made it a couple years ago with a 4th or 3rd place finish at the Open Championship to get into the Masters again. He was outside the world top 50. So it's been a long journey to get back here. But like you said, in great tournaments, Arnold Palmer and Players Championship back-to-back, final groupings with Bryson, 2nd place finishes. It's incredible what we're seeing with Lee Westwood. It is absolutely incredible. The best story I could see for this Masters would be to see Lee Westwood put on that green jacket. I don't know if we're going to see it. DFS, even DFS, like putting the fan part of me aside, it's hard at 8,800 to think about how much Lee Westwood I'll have, because that is a steep price. I mean, Victor Hovland, like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean the reigning Race to Dubai winner.
Yes. Yeah,
So it's not like it's just been a couple tournament flashes. Like he is playing the best golf we've seen in a while.
for sure.
If you don't know the success that we're talking about here, he had six top tens in 8 years. One of the years he just missed with an 11 that broke up that streak. But then yes, he missed in 18 and 19. I think I'm not sure if you got into this, but I think it's going to be his son on caddying for him,
I don't
not
know.
his fiance, who has they've had a lot of success caddying together.
Yeah, I think after the Players, he went with his son to Augusta to play, I think 54 holes. So I think they probably were doing a little bit of scouting there. So I'm not sure if
Probably because he doesn't really know the course. He doesn't. Oh no,
yeah.
wait, he has played there a few times.
But he has been around for such, like, the Phil Pinestraw moment. Lee Westwood was in his group when Spieth blew up and put his ball in the water. Lee Westwood was chipping in like for eagle. Like, he's been around all these moments. It's incredible, his story here. I would love to see him get this, but I don't know if I can. Yeah,
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see it.
I mean, you never know. Magic can happen. Do you believe in
Magic
miracles?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just realizing we have a lot of golfers that end their last name in W. We are going through this. Bernd Wiesberger is the next one up here. 5 Masters appearances. Best finish is a T22 in 2015. One of these guys where his official world golf ranking is actually higher, or in a sense lower, is better than where his DFS pricing is. Craig, someone you talked about for Valero Texas Open. What do you think about him for the Masters?
What do I think about him for the Masters? So we have seen him make 5 straight cuts here. He has been kind of not great. He has a couple top 25 finishes. His form, he's made cuts. So this is where I struggle a bit. I think he's likely to be around on the weekend, but I don't think it's very likely that he's going to be knocking on the door. I would say that's kind of where I'm putting him. I'm putting him middle of the field of the guys that make the cut.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, from a
that.
DFS point of view, we'll get into that in the previews. I like him at those prices. I think that he could potentially be great value there. But is he going to be relevant on Sunday? Are we going to be watching him? I think that's a big ask. But I would have said the same thing about CT Pan last year. So you never know what's going to happen in Augusta.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his recent finishes, nothing's really standing out to me. His best finishes recently: T6, Omega Dubai, Desert Classic, obviously on the European Tour. So it's been pretty kind of, like you said, middle of the pack, WGCs and PGA tournaments.
Yep. Okay, another former winner. We got Danny Willett, 6 appearances, 1 top 10 with that win. Someone who we've seen. I know that he has battled injury issues. I think we started to see some form from him, but that hasn't really kept up. Would you have any strong thoughts on Danny Willett?
Yeah, my first initial thought, actually looking at it, is I'm surprised that he's still ranked 74th in the world. But looking at his recent results, he hasn't missed a cut in 2021. We're looking at, 5-6 tournaments played. No real kind of great finishes. Corrales Punta an 8th there, but that is an opposite field event, PGA Tour event. So yeah, I guess he is playing better golf than we've seen maybe in the middle of 2020. So maybe he is turning a corner. And obviously, like we say with, I don't know if his style of play can match up really with these ROMs DJs here, but I think he still has that experience to crack a top 40, top 30 kind of expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I am no expert on Danny Willett, but I do think that part of the narrative for him has been injury. Since his win here, he's missed the cut 3 straight times. I'm just trying to look it up here, but I can't remember what his injuries have been. I
Right.
want to say it's been wrist related, but I can't actually find that. So I do know he's battled injury. I would love to see him start to get back into more of a consistent form here. I just think that it's a big ask. So I think seeing him around for a weekend would be a great step in the right direction, considering he's missed 3 straight cuts here.
Yeah, for sure. Matthew Wolff is next. One Masters appearance. It was a miscut in 2020. Matthew Wolff is a very, very interesting golfer right now. It was kind of right up there with Morikawa and Hovland. I feel like in the summer of 2020, his U.S. Open, he was playing incredibly well. Withdrew from the concession WGC. We saw him at match play. He had a couple matches that were pretty great. I think one match he was leading the field in strokes gained approach. The next match he was dead last. So I still don't know what Matt Wolff we're going to get. I don't know how his injury or rehab or mental space is right now. What do you think about Matt Wolff?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that we are going to see Matt Wolff start to turn the corner here. I hope that the match play was the first steps in the right direction. He had struggled before then. He withdrew. He had the wrist or thumb, I forget what it was, at the Farmers when he withdrew there. But he was playing miserable golf at the time, and then it seemed like it did seem like he kind of has been struggling, both whether it's physically or mentally, just with the kind of the load and the grind of being on the PGA Tour during COVID and everything that goes along with that for a 21-year-old. So
exactly, yeah.
I'm a Matthew Wolff fan. I would love to see him start to turn the corner here. I think that I think he's a great talent. I think he's going to be someone we don't get consistency from for a little while, just because just the way he plays. I also think that I wouldn't try to drill consistency into him. I think that he is someone who might be better off not being, a consecutive cut maker. He might be better off being more like maybe like a Brooks, where he's missed 3 straight cuts and then he comes out and wins. I think Matthew Wolff is a little bit that kind of talent who just needs to kind of let the feel go and roll with it.
Yeah, we can have Phil the Thrill, next generation's like Wild Wolf. Just let him be. Let his swing be
the big
what
bad
it is.
wolf.
And the big bad wolf. Yeah, we don't know if he's gonna huff and puff or not make it. We don't know. Yeah, I agree with that. I completely agree with what you said.
Okay, Gary Woodland, 8 appearances. His best finish is tied for 24th, no top 10s. Another person who injuries have been a real story for. I believe it's been hip with him. And, we saw him, I want to say it was at Farmers, where we started to see him turn the corner. I could be wrong on that one, but we started to see him turn a corner. But it now then looks like he has struggled a little bit again. So, he doesn't have a great history here. I'm a little bit concerned about his form. So I think there's a lot of question marks, I would say, with our, 2018 U.S. Open winner.
Pebble Beach champion. Yeah, he had top 20 at the American Express, followed that up with the made cut of the Farmers Insurance. Since then, his only made cut is at the WGC. So it's been a little bit of a rough go for Woodland, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Last man alphabetically.
We made it.
I think in the field. We made it. It's been a long show. Thank you for sticking with us. If you are here to all the way to Zalatoris, from Ancer to Zalatoris, Craig, I can't believe somehow kind of skipping and picking names that we did that I am speaking first on Will Zalatoris, but that means you get last word on your boy. So I'll make it quick. What have we seen from Will Zalatoris? He has been fantastic lately. Obviously hasn't played here. He's played his way into the PGA Tour, into the top 50 in the world. His ascension has been unbelievable. What else can I say? He's in the top 50, and DraftKings is getting him respect as a 32nd price there. His approach play is unbelievable.
To me, that's
Craig,
disrespect, but
that's it. Okay.
No, I'm just joking. So Will Zalatoris, I mean, if you guys watch a lot of our stuff, I am talking about him all the time. But if you need an idea why, start of 2019, he was 2000th He was ranked 2,000th in the world.
Yeah.
Start of 2020, he was ranked 610th in the world. Start of 2021, he was ranked 53rd in the world. So he's working his way up. He is ascending. Yeah. I think the real reason that I'm so bullish on him, I've said this a few times, but he is an exceptional ball striker. The things he does very, very well are the things that the top players in the world do very well. So as long as he can continue to grow and fill out his golf game in all of its, his short game, his putting, all of the things you need to do, I think the sky's the limit for Will Zalatoris. I think that he actually has a game that could be very well suited to Augusta. I don't have very high expectations for him this year. Augusta is a place that is exceptionally difficult to go to the first time you go to it, and expect to have success. But that said, I think he will have a good showing that is a good platform from which to build on in future years. I'm just happy.
And a good showing in your first year. I mean, you don't expect to crack the top 10, and people did last year. A 40th, a 30th, I think would be a good positive step again for Zalatoris.
And you know what? I think this could actually be, so we had a no patron. They're not fans, they're patrons. We had a no patron Masters in 2020. I think this could be kind of a good bridge one for some of these young players where it's not quite, it'll still feel like the Masters, and there still will be some, a bit of a crowd there, but it's not going to be the intensity and everything that goes along with Masters Week, all the pomp and circumstance. That's all going to be a little bit subdued still in 2021. So I think it will make it a bit easier for a young guy like Will Zalatoris. But I mean, I'm just so happy. He was someone I was talking about as being someone I would love to see get their card this year on a special temporary membership. So for him to do everything he's done and play his way into the Masters this year is awesome. So let's continue to see him rise up the rankings. And I think he is going to be someone who is a major championship contender just because of how good he is. I mean, we saw him get a top 10 at the U.S. Open. He does the really difficult things in golf very well.
Yep. I agree. It's going to be exciting to see Willie Z on Augusta this year. Thank you, everybody, for sticking it out with us. That is our full field breakdown player guide from A to Z. It's been a grind. We've had our coffees, we've had our teas, we've been powering through this.
You may have noticed that about 10 hours have passed. If in the background here, if this is a cartoon, calendar pages would be falling off.
We hope you enjoyed it. It's a brand new show for us. It's a long one. A lot of research went into it. If you liked it, hit that thumbs up. Also, subscribe to our channel. A lot of different content coming out. As Craig already teased, we do have a podcast, so make sure to download that podcast wherever you get a podcast. Link is below in the description. Craig, we have a ton of stuff coming out for Masters. Anything else to add there?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a pseudo preview, but we'll be doing a preview where we have a lot more fun with it. We don't, we're not necessarily going to do the full field on that one. So we'll be doing that. That'll be out as a podcast and on YouTube. We're also going to be doing the full field breakdown we do every week from a strictly DFS point of view. That's where we will get a little bit more into the nitty gritty. I don't care so much what this is for them. I want to know how this affects me. Look for that. We'll be going live Wednesday night next week.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you soon.
Take care.